you. And Madam Clerk, will you please call roll of board members?
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Bryant,
Present.
Ms. Morseberger,
Present.
Dr. Kraft,
Present.
Ms. McKeever. Here. Ms. Puryear,
Present.
Ms. Torres,
Yes.
Mr. Wade,
Present.
and Ms. Regamayo.
Then.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I am going to take a quick moment to welcome our student rep. This is her first meeting. Rachel Rigamayo, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you being here. I will now ask for approval of our proposed agenda.
I move approval of our agenda.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. All right, now we will move on to a special recognition. Something new here. Right now, what we'd like to do is, or what I would like to do is read a resolution honoring Miss Leah Puryear. Whereas Leah Puryear is retiring after 15 years of distinguished service on the Charlottesville City School Board, Charlottesville, Virginia. And whereas she has provided quality leadership by serving as chairperson of the board, as a member and chair of the Charlottesville Albemarle Technical Education Center, as a school finance committee member, as a public education fund member, as a Piedmont Regional Education Program member, as a Title I advisory board member, as a City of Promise Steering Committee member and chair of the Grace Tinsley Memorial Scholarship Program, as a NSBA Council of Urban Boards of Education Steering Committee member, and whereas she has dedicated her tenure as a board member to providing Charlottesville City Schools students with first-class programs and facilities in a fiscally responsible manner, and whereas her thorough research on issues, depth of historical knowledge, concern for fairness, and proper resolution of issues have earned her the respect and admiration of her board colleagues. Whereas she served as an excellent colleague and mentor to her fellow school board members, and that she facilitated an atmosphere of civil and respectful discourse at school board meetings. Therefore, be it and it is hereby resolved by the Charlottesville City School Board that the appreciation of the citizens of Charlottesville, members of the board and administration be expressed to Leah Puryear for the contributions she has made to the schools of the district, and that this expression of appreciation and gratitude be made a part of the permanent records of the division, and that a copy of this resolution will be presented to her by Charlottesville City School Board dated the 2nd day of December, 2021. And now a resolution honoring Juan Diego Wade. Whereas Juan Diego Wade is retiring after 15 years of distinguished service on the Charlottesville City School Board, Charlottesville, Virginia. And whereas he has provided quality leadership by serving as chairperson of the board, as a member and chair of the Charlottesville Albemarle Technical Education Center, as a school health advisory board member, as a Piedmont Regional Educational Program member, as a creative learning after school and summer committee member, as a Title I advisory board member, as a regional adult education board member, as a naming of school facilities committee member, as a community development block grant board member. And whereas he has served as president of the Virginia School Boards Association, served on several of their committees, and further was named VSBA School Board Member of the Year in 2020. And whereas he has dedicated his tenure as a board member to providing Charlottesville City Schools students with first-class programs and facilities in a fiscally responsible manner. And whereas his thorough research on issues, depth of historical knowledge, concern for fairness and proper resolution of issues have earned him the respect and admiration of his board colleagues. Whereas he served as an excellent colleague and mentor to his fellow school board members, and that he facilitated an atmosphere of civil and respectful discourse at school board meetings. Therefore, be it, and it is hereby resolved by the Charlottesville City School Board that the appreciation of the citizens of Charlottesville, members of the board, and administration be expressed to Juan Diego Wade for the contributions he has made to the schools of the district, and that this expression of appreciation and gratitude be made part of the permanent records of the division, and that a copy of this resolution be presented to him by the Charlottesville City School Board dated the 2nd day of December, 2021.
So as Lysandra has warned me, I need to, get ready for some long meetings. So as we move on, but I just wanted to share a few thoughts of my tenure on the school board, and never thought that I would be in this position of running for the school board in 2005. At the time, I didn't know my dear friend Leah very well. I heard about this young lady in the community, but since then, man, it's been a wonderful journey to do so many incredible things over the last 15 years, to see this division grow and make big decisions and have the impact that we've had over the last 15 years. And it just really propelled me to really want to continue to serve the city. And I couldn't think of a better person to do it with than Leah. Leah, just to give you a little example of the type of person that she is that last week we had this young lady, she wasn't even from this district. She was from Orange County, but I was trying to help her out to fill out some FAFSA form. Leah came in on a time off and to help the mother and this young lady fill out these, to me, complicated forms. And so these are this type of impact that we're trying to have in the community, both because all of these are of our children. So I feel like this district is in just wonderful hands as we move on with the new superintendent, the board. I know Emily and Dom is here. I mean, this district is ready to move forward. We really continue to be the forebearer in whatever is out there. We're ready to take it on. And I can tell you that you have a friend, a colleague on city council as we address these critical issues. I know what the issues that you address, and I know that ultimately what we're doing for these young people that are here, that it's the foundation, and that all the other issues that we have to kind of take care of our young people, so that ultimately they can take care of us as our lawyers, as our doctors, as our servers, or every little thing. we need to take care of our youth. I just wanted to say that it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve in this capacity. You allow me to grow and so much. And I would be remiss if I didn't do this because so many hours that it requires to do this without my wonderful wife, Claudette, of 28 years. So thank you so much, sweetheart, for uh, thank you for allowing me to serve this community and to continue to serve this community. This is a decision when we do this that we have to do as a family because of the time commitment. So I'm blessed, and we have health, and other than that, we're good, and we can tackle any issues that we need to in this community.
So thank you all for this recognition. That you all can keep a secret, because I have seen most of you out and about. I've met with some of you. I've talked to you on the phone. No one has said a word. So now, Dr. Gurley, you know that your staff and your board can keep a secret. It has been an honor and a privilege. You all have been here for me. Ten and a half years ago, my husband died, and I was the vice chair of the board, and I was not going to move forward. And everyone said, no, you will move forward. And I did. The people in the city of Charlottesville are blessed and honored to have everyone in the CCS family, because you are truly a family. You are there in good times and bad times. I have grown exponentially from being on the Charlottesville City School Board. I have traveled the world as a member of the Charlottesville City School Board. It is time for us to continue to soar, and under the leadership of Dr. Royal A. Gurley Jr., the Charlottesville City Schools are bound for greatness. With his love, compassion, and caring, everyone, students, family, staff, and administrators, will continue to soar. I know that the CCS family will not let him down. I know that the CCS family will be there for him and his family, because I know that because you've done it for me. Again, thank you so much for all you have given. I will never, ever forget it. P.S. I'm a phone call or email away. Thank you.
All right, we all ready? All right, let's move forward. Thank you so much, everybody. We are now moving on to our first opportunity, excuse me, for comments from members of the community. Please keep in mind that you are limited to 3 minutes for your comments. We ask that you state your name and address, and we will start with those who are present in the media center. And I do have a list. And if Mr. Eric Johnson would like to approach the podium. Thank you, sir.
Am I good? All right. Dr. Gurley, school board members, central office staff, our entire school community, good evening. I'm Eric Johnson, and I reside in the city of Charlottesville. And I also have the pleasure of working for Charlottesville City Schools at the Hospital Education Program. I thank you for the opportunity to express gratitude to two of the greats of our community, Mo Wade and Sister Leah Purdy. I call them brother and sister, and you'll see why in a few minutes. So excited every time I look at Mr. Wade. Did you see Mr. in the video? I'm sorry, I got to stick to my script. I promise I would, but I saw hair, so okay, get back on task. All right, Mr. Wade and I have known each other for over 30 years. We actually met when I was in college. Needless to say, he quickly became a true friend, and I'm blessed that our friendship has continued for all of these years. There is one fact that we know about Juan Diego. He cares about our community. He cares for our kids. When I was a teacher at Walker in the 90s, Mr. Wade, other fraternity members, and I mentored students. Now, it wasn't anything formal, at first at least. We just selected a group of fifth grade students who we thought was at risk for succeeding. We met with their parents, and the rest is history. We actually mentor those students from fifth grade all the way through high school and beyond. Brother Wade played a significant role in this mentorship. In fact, as recent as last week, Juan Diego and I were communicating about how we can provide tutoring to one of the young men he's currently working with. I think the young people would say facts. I thank Juan Diego Wade for his leadership with the school board. I thank him for his presence and work throughout our community. He has a great ear and a peaceful aura about him. His willingness to follow through on task is quite impressive. His willingness to lend a helping hand is inspiring. His continued friendship is a blessing. For the past 23 years, I have volunteered with the Zion Union Tutoring Program, which offers free tutorial services to students regardless of their religious affiliation. Throughout the years, Juan has also volunteered, whether he's tutoring a kid, preparing a meal, or just being visible. His presence has made all the difference. As a matter of fact, I think everybody needs some Wade in their lives. Wade and I have worked collaboratively with various youth groups from churches, helped various individuals in the community, encouraged and helped with voter registration, and even participating in numerous walks and runs and other fundraisers. Not too many runs, a lot of walks. I just want to publicly thank Brother Juan Diego Wade for his service and dedication to our school community. You're welcome. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't thank the great Leah Puryear. She has been a great advocate for our school community for many years. One of my fondest memories of Ms. Puryear was her visit to Buford Middle School as a school board member. Now, when most school board members visit schools, they tour the building, visit classrooms, talk to staff, and even talk to kids. And all of that is great. Love it. But Ms. Puryear's visit was just different, right? She would call a couple of days before and announce that she was coming. So we had to prepare ourselves. Show up at 8 a.m. and before she could get in the door, she would yell, "All right, Johnson, I'm here. What do you want me to do?" And she would spend the day working at Buford. Whether she was helping out in the office, doing bus duty, helping out with lunch duty, escorting kids, she was there the entire day, enthusiastic, passionate, loving on our kids, loving on our parents. And I thank you for that. That's a day that we look for every single year. We got to the point where she had to bring in a pot of chili, I believe. And we enjoyed that piece. Like Juan Diego Wade, I have known Miss Puryear for several years too. In fact, Miss Puryear was one of my parents when I taught her son Eugene math in the 90s. She was very involved with her son's education. You can imagine that. And very supportive of the school. She modeled how parents should interact with school staff. This is the message she has told numerous parents in our community and through her job as the director of Upward Bound. Taught at Upward Bound for a summer. And I can tell you firsthand that her expectations of effective instruction and relationship building have not changed over the years. She demanded that. And likewise, when she became a member of this school board, she demanded that of our teachers as well. She worked diligently to ensure that teachers and students had what they need to be successful. Growing up, my father would say, what do you say now? Is it 3 minutes? Y'all know, okay, I'm coming. So growing up, my father would say to someone who was in good standing with him, you are all right with me. And in closing, I want to say to Miss Leah Puryear, you are all right with me. The work continues, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And I know that if everybody who's in this auditorium were signed up, most people who are here to pay tribute to Mr. Juan Diego Wade and Leah Puryear, we could go on forever and ever and ever. Thank you both, and we will try and keep it a little closer to the 3 minutes. Thank you. Ms. Lizelle Duggar.
Dr. Gurley, school board members, administration, faculty, students here. I will gladly go short so that Eric took some of my time. I came on the school board in 2008 because I had a daughter starting kindergarten at Burley Moran. And I said, I got to do something with this school. So I ran and I was on school board. Had no clue what I was doing. Juan and Leah took me under their wing. They taught me what this school system is about. They taught me what it meant to care about all the kids, not just mine. Because if we care about all the kids, my kids are going to do just fine. Alan and I have graduated one. She's off to college as a freshman, a large part because of what Juan and Leah have helped us achieve with our girls. We have a junior here at the high school. So we got 2 more years that CHS has our younger daughter. But Leah has always been Auntie Leah to my girls. And Juan has always been Uncle Juan, the man who tickles us under our chin. Yeah. So for me to come here tonight to thank you, it's more personal than just what you've done for our schools. It's what you've done for us. As a family and as friends. So I couldn't put that on film because I do this. So thank you from the bottom of the Duggar family heart. You guys are part of our family.
Thank you, Ms. Duggar. Ms. Brown.
Hello. My name is Pamela Price Brown. I live at 764 Ridge Street here in the city. And I'm also a teacher here at Charlottesville High School. And I'm the president of Eta Phi Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. This evening, I have the pleasure of representing my sorority and my chapter as we honor one of our own, Leah Puryear. Leah embodies the spirit of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. She is an active member of Eta Phi Omega chapter here in Charlottesville. She's always smiling, gracious, and welcoming. Never one to shirk her duty, she volunteers, offers her services, asks how I can help, what do you need me to do, and is always a calming presence. That voice, just sets everything to right. Currently, Leah is chairman of one of our signature targets, the arts, and she spearheaded AFI Omega chapter, donating books about the Harlem Renaissance to the CCS elementary schools. She has served as a delegate to our sorority conferences, and Leah won the Martin Luther King Award, Community Award for her untiring efforts of many years on the school board. She is definitely a reflection of our motto, service to all mankind. Personally, Leah has been a mentor, a friend, a sister, and sounding board for many, many years. We won't say how many, but a whole lot of years. She is someone at all times. She will be greatly missed here at Charlottesville City Schools for her sound advice and her logical mind. We love you. We are so proud of you. And we are so proud to call you our sister. We love you.
If you will please allow me to go off script a little bit at this point, since we have Ms. Pam Brown here. Dr. Gurley.
Yes, so while we have Ms. Brown here, we do want to recognize that Ms. Brown was one of 25 winners of the Ford Freedom Unsung Teacher Heroes of COVID Award. And so we want to thank you for your service and your just outstanding
Thank you.
award.
Thanks.
And if I may, that was one of 25 nationally.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much. But this is about Leah and Juan Diego. You guys are good.
It's about the pink and green.
Thank you. Next, we have Wynn Stewart.
Yes, many people know about the pink pig in Leah's UVA office. My name is Wynn Stewart. I'm a city resident at 1816 Fennell Avenue. I'd like to speak on two related points. First, I want to thank Leah Perrier for her service to the city and to the families, children, and people of Charlottesville. Capably for her work in the interest of theirs and our futures. Second, unbeknownst to many, Leah retired last week from her position as director of Upward Bound at UVA. As her institutional supervisor, I want to recognize Leah. Leah worked for Upward Bound for 42 years. For over 39 of those years, she was the director. She has been an excellent leader, managing budgets, people, and programs while showing a rare combination of superior professionalism, ability to discipline and enforce rules when needed, and great caring and warmth for all the young students at Upward Bound. In this program designed to encourage, guide, and support high school students who might not otherwise consider or be ready for college, Leah has positively affected the lives not only of the individual students, but also many families. Her work with the school board and in concert with her colleagues through the Virginia School Boards Association have added to her knowledge and thus effectiveness in that role. We appreciate the interconnectivity of the work for both Charlottesville and the schools in the region which Upward Bound serves at UVA. We know that because of her interests, expertise, and personality, she will continue to be busy in her retirement and be only a text away for those of us whom she has befriended across these many years. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. All right. If there's anybody else in the media center who would like to provide public comment at this time, please come forward to the podium. There is another opportunity towards the end of the meeting, but I do know and believe that we have some people on Zoom or in the wait room, and Mr. Como, I'll allow you to lead those. Please keep in mind, even in the Zoom room. You're limited to 3 minutes, please. And state your name and address.
And at this time, I'll call you. If you need to, please raise your hand so that I can see that you would like to provide public comment, or you can message me in the chat and we will call you to speak at that time. So I'm just going to go down the list here. I see last name is Poirier, first initials P. So you should be able to unmute this time, and you have 3 minutes.
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Oh, shoot. Hello? I'm
Go
going to
ahead.
assume you can hear. Okay, I can tell. Wonderful. My name is Paula Purrier, and Leah Purrier is my mother, technically my stepmother, but she's the best mother a girl could ever have. You guys have been speaking about how she has been a champion for the children and the community of Charlottesville. She has been that same figure in my life. It is such an honor to share this afternoon with you all and to get a glimpse of the impact she's had on your community over these past years. Leah, I love you. I am so proud of you. You are a lion and a champion, and couldn't be happier to be your daughter. Congratulations. We salute you.
You.
Next on the list, we have the first initial A and the last name is Taylor. You should be able to unmute at this time, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon, and members of the Charlottesville School Board. Thank you for this opportunity. Excuse me. I live in Nelson County. I work at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. I am the president of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, the Gamma Alpha Lambda chapter seated in the city of Charlottesville. So I come to salute both Brother Juan Diego Wade and Sister Leah Purrier for their service. Having known both of those individuals for many years for their work in the city of Charlottesville and in my acquaintances working there as well. Juan is the perfect example of servant leadership that I know, that he has worked tirelessly in the city of Charlottesville, not only with the school board, with other organizations. And as Brother Eric Johnson mentioned earlier, he continues to mentor people that he's not gone to know early on in their lives. They continue to come for him for support and information and other needs as they have. Ms. Purrier, again, being part of the Upward Bound program, which I was a student long before she took that position. I do understand the rigors of the program, and she's been a guiding light for that for over the years. And the University of Virginia is greatly going to miss her service and her leadership. I wish to thank both of these people for their tireless work in and around the city of Charlottesville, and wish them much success in future endeavors. And hopefully their knowledge will be used in some other ways with the school board as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next on the list, we have first initial A and the last name is Wade. You should be able to unmute at this time, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Amigo Wade, of course, it shows up on the screen. I'm Juan Diego's older brother, and I sort of consider him my baby brother, but I've been for so many years looking up to him. I can probably say I've known Juan Diego longer than anyone else who's spoken tonight. I'm not gonna say I was there when he was born, but I was there shortly after. We're from a large family. You know, it was 6 of us, 3 boys and 3 girls. And my dad, our dad was a lifelong educator in the Richmond public school system. He's also a member. You can probably tell Juan is a PK, preacher's kid. But if I had to say try to sum up Juan Diego in one word, it would be consistency. You know, and Juan will remember this. We used to have family dinners, and my dad and mom would hand out awards, and he got the Peacemaker Award because he was always peacemaking. You can imagine with, you know, 6 kids, there had to be a peacemaker, and that was Juan Diego. Consistency is what made him get involved in that program where he mentored kids, and many of them are graduated from college now. Consistency is what allowed him to you know, go on those mission trips with his church, where he used to call me and tell me what he did at this mission trip. He was driving a van in Mexico, and every time he just made me want to be a better public servant. He made me want to be a better father, a better husband, and just a better human being. So Kwande, I'm just speaking on behalf of your brothers and sisters and all your family. Just want to say that we're proud of you. We're going to always be there to support you. And I love you. And, you know, just keep doing what you're doing because you're doing the right thing.
Sir.
Next on the list, we have the first initial J and the last name of Johnson. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Johnson, can you hear us? You are on mute. I can, oh, there we go.
Sorry about that. I wanted to take this time to thank both Mrs. Purrier and Mr. Wade. I had the absolute pleasure of serving with them on the school board last year, and they made my experience as school board representative as comfortable and as amazing as possible. Miss Purrier, she knows that is a mentor of mine, a wonderful friend of mine. She always was there to help me during those meetings when I didn't have anything to say, or if I needed help wording anything, she was always there for me. And even after my term as school board representative ended, she kept in contact with me over the summer and just to check on me and, you know, to make sure I was doing okay. And this year, at the beginning of the school year, she was making sure that I was doing okay in school and just being the person that we all know Ms. Purrier is. And I can say that I am very grateful that I was able to meet her through this school board representative job I was able to have last year. And I was able to help her on campaign day. And I told her, and I'll tell everyone that even with the outcome, you know, I would definitely stand out in that cold like me and Mr. Bryant did. I would go back and do it over and over and over again because Mrs. Purrier is definitely worthy of that type of support. And I just want to thank her for her 15 years of service, not only as a school board member, but just as an amazing community member and just an amazing person in general. And Mr. Wade, also a great friend of mine and mentor. He's kept in contact with me as well. And I know that he has amazing things as well. Mrs. Purrier has amazing things even after this. And I wish him the best on his new position. And I wish Ms. Purrier the best as she continues into her endeavors in retirement. And I love you both, and I'm wishing you the best.
Thank you.
Next on the list, initial is L and last name is Anderson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My name is Luella Anderson. Good afternoon, Dr. Gurley, school board members, and community. I am an instructional coach at Jackson Bio. This is my 33rd year in the city of Charlottesville. Today, I would like to truly thank Mrs. Purrier. I really don't know where to begin. To me, you have been more than a school board member. I have known you before Charlottesville City Schools. You have been an asset to our district and the surrounding counties through your work with Upward Bound, which assisted many young people, including members in my family, in furthering their education. Mrs. Purrier, your son also attended Greenbrow. And years after his completion, when I was a kindergarten teacher, you became a surrogate parent to one of my students. I truly thank you for your support for that student and for me as I was teaching him. I would also like to thank you and Mr. Wade for your dedication to Charlottesville City Schools during your service as school board members. Thank you both for your outstanding leadership, your commitment, and your extreme dedication to the students, staff, and community. I thank you for supporting us and for being an advocate, not just for the students, but for every staff member. I'm so grateful for you guys, and I wish you both the best. Thank you so much again for all you have done and everything that you will continue to do for our community. Mrs. Puryear, I was saddened to hear that you are retiring, but I do appreciate your years at UVA and for everything that you have done for our community. Best wishes to you, Mr. Wade, as a city council member. Thank you both again.
You.
Next on the list, first name, initial R, last name is Jiggets. You can unmute at this time and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great, excellent. Well, first of all, thank you for giving me this time to share a little bit about Juan and also sending the invitation. I am zooming in from Huntsville, Alabama. Juan and I have been friends for a little bit shy of 40 years now. And although I am not that familiar with the city of Charlottesville, I have learned a lot about Charlottesville through Juan. We first met as roommates in undergrad at Norfolk State. And from that point, we have been great friends ever since. He was the best man in my wedding, and I was a part of his wedding. And when I got my job with the FBI, he was a reference for me. So you just can't pick anybody for your reference. So not only were they checking me out, they were also checking him out. But Juan has two passions I know of. One is the well-being of his family, and also the well-being of the citizens of the city of Charlottesville. And when I say the city of Charlottesville, that extends to the youth programs that he participates in, the mentoring of the youth and also the adults, and rehabbing homes. He showed me a video of him and the youth out rehabbing some homes and some of the other things that he's taken part of also in the church community. I say all of this to say that if you find Juan Wade, you find a good person, you find a great man. And he only has one position of his switches or his dial, as I say, and that's always at 100%. He's always given 100% at all times. So I just want to congratulate Juan from the school board and also for his new position. Although I've never met Sister Puryear, whenever I read articles, I always see her name in all the articles. So congratulations to you also. Thank you.
Let Eden talk about some of those freshman year stuff in the dorms, man.
Yeah, I held back on that.
Thank you, sir.
Next in the speaking realm is first initial F, last name Scott. Mr. Scott, you should be able to unmute and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Fred Scott, and I am in Chesterfield, Virginia, and I am currently the president and the district director of the Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, where I represent 36 chapters and 2,000 members. But I am just thrilled today because Juan Diego Wade is one of our outstanding educators and political advocacy members in the state of Virginia. We believe in developing leaders in our brotherhood and academic excellence. And academic excellence and what's happening with children has been the core of our organization, but it is definitely the core for Juan Diego Wade. We are so proud of you, of what you represent to your community. We are proud of what you have always stood for, which is always doing the right thing for kids. And the students of Charlottesville and everybody else have benefited from your being on the school board for the last 15 years. You know how proud we are of you, of moving your part of advocacy that we support in our organization to the political realm of sitting on the city council. We are extremely proud. You just follow behind many of our great leaders of our organization, such as Martin Luther King, Thurgood Marshall, and even our state representatives of Bobby Scott. There are many more to say. guess what, Juan Diego, you're going to be right up there with them. On behalf of the members of the Virginia Association of Chapters of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, and also, and I'm gonna just say this before I conclude, thank you, school board, and thank you also to our brother, the superintendent, Dr. Roy Garreley. He just joins right on in there with so many of our phenomenal educators across the country. But we are very proud of not only you, but we are proud of Mr. Wade, and I call him Brother Wade. And my wife says hello to you. She's so proud of you also. Thank you.
Sir.
Next on the list, first initial is L and the last name is Brandon. You're able to unmute at this time and you have 3 minutes.
Not yet, we have to get ready for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Brandon, you also told me, as you can hear the chants from the crowd, let's go, Brandon. Brandon, you told me you were going to kind of hang back those first 2 stages.
Ma'am, this time is for public comment, so we ask that if you have something to say or would like to
Media,
give
they
us
trying to
any
play us
time,
up
we'd
for
like to
wood,
leave
yeah.
time.
You know she heard fall got into, yeah. Sleepy Joe ain't got no support. Sleepy Joe. Hunter Biden better show up to court, yeah. Fake news trying to silence the truth, yeah. We the people
Can we
trying
have another opportunity for
yeah. I ain't taking no vaccine.
come
I
back
ain't from
with
the Southwest, don't ask me. Ask
comments,
now.
but we
And
will
I
move
ain't
on.
very no master.
At this time, there are no other comments in the chat for speaking. Oh, we do have another hand raised in the attendees, and this first initial B and the last name is Fortune. You should be able to unmute at this time, and you have 3 minutes for your comments.
This is Betty Jo Fortune of Arlington, Virginia, one of Leah's younger sisters. Mom is hopefully watching on television, but she wrote something that she wanted me to read to you, Leah. Leah, the community and I are so proud of and thank you for your service on the Charlottesville City School Board. You always made the children your priority in all of your decisions. You always included thoughts for their future. Excellent work, job well done. God bless you. Love, Mom. Leah, you decided that the school board was something that you wanted to pursue, and you did just that. It was only one of the many ways you showed your dedication to education and to the young children of our future. You've never hesitated to go the extra mile, take the phone call, stay up late at nights, do whatever was necessary to make sure that the children in the Charlottesville City School System had a quality education. I know that you've inspired them, that you've motivated them, and that you've let them know that they're capable of doing great things and that their success is in their hands. I'm proud of you for all of your accomplishments. I hope that going forward on Thursday nights, the first Thursday of each month, you'll find something fun to do, but I suspect some of that fun will be determining on what your next step will be in your desire to continue to make a major contribution to your community and to the educational system. The best is yet to come. We love you, and I'm so proud of you. Juan, I'd like to say the best of luck to you and congratulations on your success as well. You and the members of the school board have continuously been there to support Leah with whatever was going on. And so for that, I do thank you, and it's much appreciated.
You.
The next person on their list, first initial is D, last name is Clemens. Should be able to unmute at this time, and you will have 3 minutes for your public comment. You see that you're unmuted. We cannot hear you at this time. Oh, looks like you are muted again. If you want to try to unmute one more time, I'll let you know if I can hear you. You want me to move on and maybe come back to that person who see?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay. We have some other hands raised. First initial A, last name Mason. And you should be able to unmute at this time, and you have 3 minutes for comment.
Good evening, Dr. Gurley, school board members. I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to just honor Ms. Leah Puryear and Juan Diego Wade. I consider myself new to the Charlottesville community, but I will tell you, both of these individuals have just made me and my family very, very welcome here. That's one of the reasons that drew me to Charlottesville City Schools. Ms. Puryear has been a wonderful sounding board. Her level of expertise, consistency, her lived experiences just inform everything she does on behalf of young people and their families in our community. I can say the same thing about Mr. Wade. Through community organizations is where I first met both of them, and I count it all joy to be able to work alongside them on different projects, to see their model that they continue to just share and pour into the community. And I'm even looking forward to the continued work that they will do on behalf of young people in our community for many, many more years to come. So I just want to thank both of you very much for the love and support you've shown my family personally, and that you've shown me professionally, and just welcoming me as a member of our community. Thank you so much.
You.
And I do have the earlier person individual, first initial D, last name Clemens. If we want to try to unmute, I've promoted you to our panelist page to see if you can unmute, and you have 3 minutes for a comment at this time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
This is Daniel Clements and Mohammed Nazir. We're just here to send our love to Leah Puryear. She has been a mentor to both of us, and we just wanted to thank you for her years of service and say that we love her. Say something, though. Just say something. Okay, that's everything. Thank you.
At this time, there are no more hands raised in the attendees gallery. I do not see any chat permissions, but we do have one more hand that just went up. First name initial is G and the last name is Best. You should be able to unmute it this time, and you have 3 minutes for public comment.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Glenda Best. I live at 690 Jefferson Drive in Palmyra, Virginia. I've known Juan Diego for 21 years, and currently we are employees on the same team. And I truly, the past 21 years have admired him for all the work he's done in the community, and I appreciate everything that he has done in the community, and especially for our children. Juan is a great mentor to children in our area. He not only mentors, he mentors many children of different races and backgrounds. Juan does not care about where you come from. He just wants to move you forward. He tries, really lives by the saying, each one reach one, and he does not turn any child away. My son was an out-of-district student and went to Charlottesville City Schools. And whenever there was a problem that we weren't able to resolve in the schools, I would get Juan Diego involved, and he would help resolve the issue. When the school board made certain decisions that I didn't agree with, I would speak with Juan, and he would explain why that decision was made. And most times I understood and I agreed with the school board decision. So I really appreciate him for that. I know that he's no longer on the school board, but I know that he will continue to mentor kids in the area. Because I know that even after they graduate from high school, he mentors them through college. And he also mentors them and helps them find jobs once they get out of college. His brother Migo said that Juan is a peacemaker, and I truly agree with that. And I hope that Juan takes those skills with him when he joins the city council, and I really wish him well. Thank you.
Seeing at this time, there are no hands raised, the attendees gallery, and there are no chat messages indicating public comment for speaking at this time.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going to move on at this point. I appreciate everybody's tribute to both of our wonderful school board members. We now will move to our first opportunity for board member comments. And I'm going to start down, if I may, with LaShundra.
I just would add to the accolades to say that Juan and Leah, I met them first when I came to the school board meetings as a parent. And after I was on the school board, they took me under their wing, and they are two amazing role models. They know how to disagree and still be agreeable. And they're just really amazing people. And I especially want to thank Leah because she has really taken me under her wing, and I've learned so much from you. And I look forward to learning more from you. And you can look forward to me inviting myself over now that you have this free time. But we'll move forward and we'll continue to do the work, but you will be missed. And I appreciate you because you were doing the work before it was popular, and you were doing the work because you wanted students that look like me and you to know that there was someone who represented them on the school board. And I appreciate that from you. And learning and getting to know you, I've also learned about all the things that you and your family went through here, fighting for students and the community. And so I appreciate you for doing the work when it's not glorious and when, you know, there aren't accolades, but I am so happy you're getting your flowers now. You will be missed. So thank you.
Ms. Purrier, would you like to speak, or we can come back if you need a second?
So I continue to do the work of the school board. How about that? Because yesterday we had a public education foundation meeting and I was there. It was a great meeting, and I want to say thank you to Paula Culver Dickerson for acknowledging the gift that our city schools received from funds of PEF. One of the leading tenets of this year's PEF projects will be health and wellness, not only of students, but of our staff as well. And we're talking about many ways that we will be doing things for our teachers and our administrators, students, and families. So hold on to your hats because there are a lot of exciting things coming up. And I want all of you to know that unless something strange happens with COVID, Dr. Baptist, we will be hosting once again the Public Education Foundation for STEAM Camp, and it's for 1 week. And Dr. Richards and I will be meeting with the science coordinators for Albemarle County and Charlottesville City Schools and giving them all the details. So after the first of the year, you will be hearing all about it. And we're excited because we are going to keep the variants at bay so that our students once again have an opportunity to participate in an exciting activity. I'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you that has spoken on my behalf this evening. As I said earlier, you all can really keep a secret, but I will always be a phone call, a text, or email away. And thank you again. I do this work out of love, not out of obligation, but out of love. Someone always has to afford opportunities to students, regardless of race or socioeconomics. Someone helped me, and because of that, I help others. Thanks.
Ms. Puryear, thank you. And board members, if you will, again, excuse me and allow, we're going to make a little bit of a change here as we have some time limitations with one of our speakers. So if we could hold the comments from the rest of us until later, and we are going to, Dr. Baptist, if you'll let us just do the adoption of the consent agenda quickly, I think, and then we'll move right into that first speaker, if that's all right. So if I can get a motion for adoption of consent agenda. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you. And our first item for discussion, Dr. Baptist, go ahead. Thank you.
Earlier. And so now I can back up. So one of the programs that we try to offer for our employees and for our families is our employee assistance program. And tonight we're fortunate to have Anna DeLong to talk to us about a little bit about this program. She is on a time crunch, and I do appreciate you allowing her to come in to speak, and I appreciate Anna joining us.
Madam Chair, Dr. Curley, and members of the board, teachers, faculty. Can you hear me okay? I'm shorter. Is that good? Can you hear me? Well, I would like to begin by just expressing my deep and heartfelt respect and gratitude for the very important work that the faculty and staff, teachers do that you are here in support of. And I wanted to just give you a bit of information about the Employee Assistance Program that's available not only to all of your teachers and employees within the Charlottesville City School System, but we are also available to family members of your teachers and staff members. We have in this tab on our website, which is you can see in the first page of the slideshow, you can find the website at www.ubafeep.com, and FEEP stands for Faculty and Employee Assistance Program. So in the About tab, it gives you information just to let you know that we have 11 licensed therapists on our team with various areas of expertise and experience. So we're hoping that at least one of us would be a good resource for you, regardless of what you're reaching out to us for. We have 2 locations. One's within West Complex of the hospital, one's on Old Ivy Road. The majority of our sessions are done at this time virtually. We can do some in person. It takes a little bit more scheduling because we're doing it in a way that honors the recommendations for safety by the CDC. That is in the About tab. In the Services tab, when you click on that on our website, it gives a bunch of information about the various kinds of services you can access through us. So in addition to individual counseling for various things like just managing anxiety, depression, substance abuse challenges, stress management, couples work, parenting work, or various issues like that. We also, under that, we offer a series, some mediations, some critical incident debriefing sessions, and we provide support to management in addition to that. And then on the Events tab, you'll see that once a month, we offer a well-being presentation and seminar with 2 opportunities to participate in it live at 2 different times a day, 2 different days of the week. But then all of our webinars are recorded and then available to all of your employees on demand, so they can reach out and get that. Also and if you click on the events tab at our website, it'll show you upcoming presentations or webinars that you can participate in. You can click past events to see all of the information that's available that's already presented that you can then see on demand. Under the services section, in addition to therapy and consultation, you can access a free financial consultation through our office, as well as a free 30-minute legal consultation through our office. And the carve out, if someone decides they want to sue the Charlottesville City school system, they can't use it for that. But many people find if they have a simple will, that's enough to take care of it. And there's an appointments tab. I think if you go to the next slide, we'll get back to the appointments tab. This presentation, I think, can be passed around, and there's 2 videos. We won't take up the time to look at them now, but if anybody's interested, the first video you can watch is just a summary of the services that are available through your employee assistance program. And the second tab is just a personal, one of our clients just talking about her experience of coming to FEEP and how it was helpful. So if I can just see the next slide. We also have this as a slide, and if you like, I can send it to you so that you can print it out. It has QR codes in case that would be a helpful way to get this information to your teachers and team members and employees. You post that, they can just scan the QR code to automatically go to our services section in our website, or the appointment tab, or also the events. Next slide, please. This isn't our most recent updated. We have several more consultants now on our team, and we're in the process of hiring 3.5 more FTEs to add to our team. But as I mentioned, we have a diverse area of expertise, diverse backgrounds in terms of what our experience is, and we would be honored to do whatever we can to support your valuable employees. And the next slide. Just to let you know, when you click on the appointment tabs, if you're coming in person, we have the usual precautions. You can just find information about that. And the next slide just shows what the appointments tab looks like. So you just sort of, if you wanted to schedule an appointment that way, you can just click the appointments tab, or you can call our number. And again, my deep respect for the really important work that all you're doing. And I just wanted to mention one thing. It was such an honor to bear witness to all that was happening during this meeting. I think there's so many things, so much adversity we've all been facing today. And what I was witnessing was just the most amazing examples of the positive impact that very special people have been having and making a meaningful difference. And that was just a beautiful thing to witness to. So thank you for inviting me. So I got to see that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anna, for being here. She does have another appointment, so she needs to dash off. But if there are any questions that anyone has about EAP, if you will give me those questions, I'll be glad to get with Anna. And this is just one of the programs under our culture of care, but one that is so very important. And we want all of our employees to know that this is totally a confidential program. If they need to, want to talk to someone within EAP, we're not involved at all. So Anna, thank you so much for being here and all you do for our employees and for the families of our employees.
Thank you, Beth, and you are most welcome. And I really appreciate you highlighting that important fact that our intervention is confidential, and that's mandated by law and by our license. So
Thank you.
appreciate you mentioning that.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Baptist, if we do have questions, would you prefer that we kind of email them all to you, and then maybe you can bring some of that information back to us? Okay, thank you. All right, and if everybody's okay, if we just hold the rest of board comments to the end, okay, and we'll just keep moving forward, please. Our next item up for discussion, Dr. Gurley, is our transportation update.
Absolutely. We will have Ms. Powell. She'll come up and bring our transportation update. Good evening, Dr. Gurley and Madam members of the board. We've decided to take a new approach with this monthly update on this important topic and try to put together more of a dashboard. So you'll see some consistent charts month to month. And so we can go to the next slide. Thanks, Leslie. So this first chart is just an attempt to give a snapshot view of the progress that City Transit is making in filling out our driver roster needs. We need at least around 30 drivers to really satisfy our normal operations, but the hiring goal is to get to 40. And that allows for a sufficient number of substitute drivers, they're called relief drivers in the transit world, and also to allow us the flexibilities to handle the special needs that come up. And it's we have a special meeting every Tuesday just to talk about special needs transportation and different things that we have to address. And there are many changes in that area all the time. So the chart on this, it shows that the progress is slow, but it's there. Over a 90-day period, we've increased by 5 drivers. That's the main takeaway from the first chart. And understand, you can't learn to drive a school bus overnight. It takes weeks. And there's the whole onboarding process, background checks and health screenings. And then there's the training that has to go on after that, both classroom and behind the wheel. So it's something that can't happen but so quickly. So the fact that with all the comings and goings, there's been a net gain of 5 drivers is good progress. The next chart is about our wait list status, because we know that that's important for everyone to understand and to be updated on each month. So this shows that since the start, when our wait list was over 800 students, October, we didn't make a lot of gains in that area, but with those 5 drivers coming on, with a lot of hard work by school staff and the team in pupil transportation, making sure we maximize all of our available seats, we did drop down below 700, just below 700. And then the most exciting point on this slide is with the additional drivers that in the pipeline, and that's let's see, drivers in training, that's 6. With those 6, with the other drivers that have already come on board, transportation is working right now to get 3 additional routes ready to serve up to around 378 additional students immediately following the winter break. That'll cut that wait list in about half. And so that's very exciting. The only other thing that we wanted to note here is that we are aware that we've been told there's approximately 120 students currently in hotels in the area. These are students who have immigrated to this area recently. We don't yet know. Right now, those families, their big challenge is housing. And we don't yet know whether they will settle in Charlottesville or Albemarle County or perhaps even other surrounding counties. I know various school divisions, including ours, have been dropping off packets and things like that for the families, but we don't know what effect that will have on our demands for transportation, but we are monitoring that as best we can. And the next chart, Leslie. So going hand in hand with these updates that we'd like to give you regarding the driver situation, the waitlist situation, one of the things that we look to is in managing the complexities of all this, are we making the best decisions we can? And attendance is one of the best indicators of that. And it's worth noting that our pre-pandemic attendance rates were in the ballpark of 95% as well. And with all of the hard work of our families and our community, the challenging decisions going on between transportation and schools, we're able to maintain that ballpark 95% attendance rate. And so that is something we're going to continue to monitor throughout this process. The attendance rate may stay around 95% because there are lots of things that impact attendance, including, illnesses, quarantine, whatever, normal illnesses. So you may not see these charts change that much, even as we make great strides in reducing our wait list. But nonetheless, we feel like this is an important metric to look at along with those other things. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Start down with Dr. Kraft. Do you have any questions?
Well, mainly, I want to thank you for all your hard work on this. I know it's just it's constant. And I really appreciate it. It does sound like we're going in the right direction. And I just had a quick question about if the students, the children or the immigrants, refugees who are staying in hotels, if they're staying in a hotel that's in Charlottesville, do we
They're
serve
not,
them?
no,
How does
so
that
they're
work?
not, my understanding is with this situation, they are not subject to McKinney-Vento. They're not Charlottesville students yet, and that's under the law and guidance. So they're not our students yet, and that's why I think, and that's why I want to be clear, it's not just Charlottesville working with the different international neighbor groups and so forth to try to support these families with materials until their housing is settled. But it's not, no, they aren't assigned to any school division yet.
I see.
The
So,
students that I'm
so we're
speaking of,
just, we're just trying to help out in some way.
as are other school divisions as well,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Wade? Ms. McKeever? Mr. Bryant? Any questions?
I don't have a question, but I'm really happy that we still continue to have the 95% attendance rate, even though there are still some students who are not being served. But things have improved drastically since the beginning of the year. So I do appreciate you and your staff, all your hard work. Thank you.
Definitely a team effort.
Ms. Powell, with the closing of the DMV, what impact, during their renovation period, did that have a major impact on us doing the next phase of the hiring of the bus drivers? Remember, there was an issue early on this fall about scheduling and their hours and.
Fortunately, it has not, and I'm, without having someone here from transportation to speak to that, but we have 2 transportation meetings every week. One to look at the special needs transportation, and then a separate meeting on Thursday that Pat Cuomo and his team have been instrumental in with our routing process and how to make routing processes as efficient and the whole rerouting, trying to streamline and improve those processes. And I talked to transportation a lot, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And the last concern, which has been resolved, was the physicals, actually. They were having trouble getting the health physicals done in a timely manner because the provider they had been using was no longer able to do it. But they knew, because I was, that if that continued to be a concern, they were to let me know, because we'd had some success helping with the help of Dr. Kraft and some of you resolving that. I've talked to them a lot in the weeks since then, and whatever they were working on, I cannot remember what other solutions, but it must have come into place because it's no longer a concern. We talk so often, I apologize, I don't have a detailed answer for you, but I'm very confident that if either of those things were a problem, the physicals or the DMV, what was a DMV bottleneck, we would know.
Bryce Morrisberger?
Just to echo what Mr. Bryant said, that I'm happy that the numbers are continuing to go down. So thank you.
We're really excited to see the wait list improve greatly after the holiday, and families will be informed before the holiday so it's not going to be something that they'll all know the status going into the break as we continue to work on this.
Looking toward our student, do you have any questions or comments about transportation or busing at all?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Powell, just real quickly, the first chart where you're looking at pupil drivers, pupil relief drivers, and transit drivers assisting people. What is the difference? I mean, I'm assuming the transit drivers assisting, those are the ones that have agreed and have the designation so that they can help out. So the pupil relief drivers, who are those?
So pupil relief drivers are drivers that they don't run a regular route. They're like the substitutes. Think of them as permanent substitutes. So they're just not assigned to a route, but they drive all the time. There are still days when the office staff and the qualified office staff and people transportation get behind the wheel of the bus. So it's just trying to reflect the truth. It's just like permanent. The concept for us is a permanent sub. They have to have those people. Otherwise, it's extremely disruptive, because even with those 3, sometimes the managers and the office people who are trying to do the routing and everything else have to jump on a bus and drive.
Great, thank you.
It still happens.
Any other questions about transportation? Anybody? All right, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Next, we are looking to have our special education update. Dr. Gurley?
Yes, that will be Dr. Baptist, and Ms. Lee will bring us our special education update.
Good evening again. In the past, you've had your special education update in October, but this year we had new superintendent coming in and other things going on. So we decided to move this to December, when you would also get information about our December 1 head count, because that is the big date for determining funding for special education. So tonight, I am very pleased to present to you the main part of our special education staff at central office. I am working with them as interim director, but they're the ones doing most of the work, and I very much appreciate each one of them. We've got Ms. Katrina Lee, who is the supervisor. We have Dr. Patty Leslie, and I emphasize doctor. She has recently gotten her doctorate. We also have Rachel Rasnick, who's been in the division for several years, was a teacher at Walker. And then this year we stole someone from Chesterfield County, Ms. Lauren Diggs, to join us. So this is her first year with Charlottesville City Schools, and I hope the first of many. So Katrina, I'll ask you to come forward and present however you would like.
Thank you, Dr. Baptist. Madam Chair, Dr. Gurley, members of the board, good afternoon. This afternoon, we do have the team with us, and we're going to be presenting a special education overview for you all. Okay. So Dr. Baptist just introduced our team. And again, this is just an overview of our special education and student services team. Dr. Baptist, myself, Dr. Leslie, Rachel Rasnick, Lauren Diggs, and our administrative technician, Devilla Parrish. Rachel Rasnick works with our early childhood special education department, or our ECSE preschool, and she also supports all of our elementary schools for special education. Lauren Diggs works with our middle school and our high school special education students, and also supports Lugo McGinnis Academy. Dr. Leslie supports our alternatively placed students and compliance. So she supports all of our students who are in alternative placements, as well as all other things in our SPED department as needed. So that is our SPED administrative core team. So Charlottesville City Schools offers a continuum of special education services. We are certainly very proud of the services we provide for our special education students, and and are always looking to continue to expand upon the services we provide. Our students are served in a variety of settings according to what their least restrictive environment is. We serve students in the general education setting, collaborative setting, co-teaching, resource, and specialized special education setting. Some of our programs include our early childhood special education program, and you'll hear a little bit more about that later from Ms. Rasnick, which is ECSE or pre-K. We have a extremely amazing, I would say, state comparative preschool inclusive program here in Charlottesville City Schools that we're really excited about. Our structured teaching and autism resource, STAR, classroom and program, BEST, behavior and emotional support and teaching, LEAP, life skills, education and adaptive curriculum program, and LEAP Beyond, which you also know is Parkside. And so we are so grateful as well. If you all remember, we introduced the BEST and the LEAP program 2 years ago. And so we've added those programs to our continuum, and they certainly do increase the supports for our students in our classroom, and they help with our continuum of keeping our students supported in Charlottesville City Schools. So we certainly appreciate the continued support while we build our programs for students with disabilities. We are really excited that we were able to include those programs, and we look forward to continuing to build those programs vertically across the division to enhance supports for our students in Charlottesville City Schools. Other services that are offered, we provide speech therapy services, services for the hearing impaired. We have a teacher of the hearing impaired, vision impaired, occupational therapy, physical therapy, psychological services, adaptive PE, and nursing services. And we're committed to providing high-quality educational services and programs to all students. And all of our services are to support our students to have access to the educational services in the school setting. Our special education department vertically across the division and our staffing. This slide just provides an overview of our total staffing and our total positions for Charlottesville City Schools. We have 59 teaching positions and 47 special education instructional assistant positions. Our psychology department is comprised of 4 school psychologists, and we also have a clinical psychologist. We work very closely with our social emotional support counseling, our social emotional support team. We have 8.5 speech pathologists, occupational therapists, certified occupational therapist assistant, CODA, physical therapist, autism and behavior consultant, assistive technology, and adaptive physical education. We work closely with our regional partner on Piedmont Regional Education Program to provide support for our physical therapist, our autism behavior consultant, assistive technology, adaptive PE, and also our occupational therapist. We work very closely with them and have partnerships with them to provide those services to our students. The next slide, as we get closer to December 1, as Dr. Baptist mentioned, this is our live, as of the time this was developed, date of our December 1 child count. That is the big count for special education, where we look closely at all of our students that we have within our division that we're serving here in the city schools, as well as students that we are serving in alternative placements. They're not. So when you look at the total here, the total number of students with disabilities, that is always a moving target. The team and the ladies back here are working really hard for our December 1 child count. And we are still looking at that number right now. The live picture of that is 601 total students. That is a number that is ebb and flow. It may change today or tomorrow, and it probably will, as we have additional IEP meetings and eligibility meetings for students. The students that we actually serve in one of our Charlottesville City Schools location is 544 students.
Later in the agenda where we have the written reports, these slides are the same as the written report. So if you're thinking about questions about the written report later, it's the same information.
Thank you, Dr. Baptist. And the comparison for the students who are served alternatively or served in another location, we have the breakdown here. 44 of our students are served in our private day programs with private day partners. Ivy Creek School serves 10 of our students right now, and that is through the Piedmont Regional Education Program, or PREP, which is a public separate school. Residential students, we have 2, and we have 3 students at the Virginia School for the Deaf and Blind for a total of 59 students. I'll pause. Are there any questions at this moment? Okay. So what you see here is a breakdown to date of our current students and our locations within Charlottesville City Schools. BME is Burley Moran Elementary School, Clark Elementary School, Greenbrier Elementary School, Jackson Via Elementary School. You're looking across the top. I'll look at Jackson Via Elementary School, Johnson Elementary School, Venable Elementary School, Walker Upper Elementary School, Beaufort Middle School, Charlottesville High School, Lugo McGinnis Academy, and the total number of students. And again, this number is moving and we're continually adjusting students. And then one of the adjustments is at LMA. We have students to add within that category, which does not adjust our total line of 544 students. The students in the categories will just move from another school to that category. But that is our total to date of students that we are serving in Charlottesville City Schools. Okay. Our private schools, so how do we serve those students? Our students who are in private day schools are served through our CSA, our Children's Services Act. to our private day placement, residential services, and our wraparound services. So when we think about what are wraparound services, for special education, we're able to serve students with maybe mentoring services. A student may need support and just a little bit more access to get them in their school day, because we're looking at the whole child. So wraparound services truly is that wraparound the student and the family. And so we're able to access those services through CSA funding to support our students. Our students are supported in residential and private day placements through CSA funding. So we work really closely with CSA to make sure our students are in the most appropriate placements. And we also work closely to make sure that we're looking at what is the placement criteria. We're also looking at what is the reentry criteria for our students, because we want to make sure that all of our students are served in a least restrictive environment, and also that we are able to serve as many of our students here in their schools within Charlottesville City Schools. The programs, I spoke and talked about this just a little bit, Piedmont Regional Education Program, a PrEP, and those are the services that we are supported through PrEP with. And those are our partners, regional program partners through PrEP. And Ivy Creek School is there. There's a little picture at the bottom of Ivy Creek School at the bottom of the slide. Okay, goals, continuous goals and goals for our department. And I will have some of the team come up and share some of these. Provide supportive, inclusive opportunities and services for students with disabilities, and advocate for continued support for students with disabilities at the local and state level. These are goals that we are continually working on, that we will continue to work on, and they're continuous. We're always going to look at ways that we can advocate through our state and local partners, whether that be through VCAs, whether that be through our regional meetings. Looking at opportunities for continued professional development, ways to advocate for our students with disabilities locally and on the state level. And looking at inclusive opportunities and support services for our students. And that's working with our VTSS teams. Our coordinators work really closely with our VTSS teams. They work closely with our schools, looking at how we can work with our administrative teams for inclusive opportunities for all of our students. So those are things that we continue to work on. Short-term goals, looking at by spring 22, alignment with our continuous improvement plan for instruction and achievement, improving our math and literacy pass rates by 6%. You'll see that in 2020, our students with disabilities, and so that's what SWD is, use lots of acronyms and specs. I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. Pass rate was 19%, state average was 31%. So we're looking at an increase for SPED for growth. Reading, students with disabilities, our pass rate was 34 and the state average was 40. So we are always looking at ways that we can continue to grow that. Some of the ways we're doing that, we'll talk about that in a second. Long-term goals, increasing capacity from serving 18 students up to 30 students who require intensive social, emotional, and behavioral instructional and supports. And that's a mouthful, so I'll dig into that just a little bit. And then also by 2024, increasing students served in Charlottesville City Schools public setting from 90 to 95%. So looking at that first bullet on the long term, looking at how, when I go back to maybe the first or second slide, those internal intensive programs that we talked about, the LEAP program. Right now, we're serving 18. How can we continue to vertically build capacity so that we are serving those students? So we started small and we'll continue to build and look at infrastructure. So how can we continue to build that vertically? And so we continue to explore options and ways to build that capacity so that we can have our students here in the schools with us, so they don't have to transition back. We're serving them here. We continue to look at ways to build that vertically, and then also looking at students who are even in our separate public day school. How can we continue to look at ways to serve them within our schools? So those are things that we continue to have an eye on and build capacity for. I'm looking at a long-term goal of increasing from 90 to 95%. Like I said, Dr. Leslie works closely with our alternative placements. He talks to some of them, I think, daily, meets with them monthly, looking at the goals, looking at the reentry criteria, looking at our students ready for transition back to Charlottesville City Schools. And so we're really excited that we have been able to transition. And if you have any questions, I know that she can speak to that, but we have been able to transition students back and working closely with our alternative partners for transition back to school. And so I'm asking, do you want to speak now about preschool? for the inclusive opportunities there.
Hi, thank you for having me. It's weird to be in person instead of on Zoom. So we just wanted to highlight an example of some of the continuous work that we as the administrative team, but also that our teachers do to improve inclusive opportunities. One of those examples is we have a team of people working with our state TTAC representatives through what's called IPOP, which is Inclusive Preschool Opportunities. And the work that's being done there is small and it's often invisible. It's the things like supporting teachers with providing a more inclusive classroom setting through suggestions about how to set up your classroom, how to make things more accessible for a student with a hearing impairment, how to make the block area less threatening for a student who doesn't like loud noises. And so we do those things, they're kind of in the background, but we set individual goals for that work. So our IPOP goals include increasing professional learning for general education teachers on inclusive practices. It includes increasing the quality of inclusive practices. So making sure our curriculum and our content is accessible to all students. And it also includes increasing inclusive opportunities for students with significant disabilities. And so that's just a small thing that we're doing. We've got some awesome people on the team, the speech language pathologists, some teachers, Sheila Sparks, our preschool coordinator. And we have those kind of all throughout our department. We have things in elementary and secondary that are working on those small benchmarks and goals for our students.
Thank you. Okay. All right, that comes to the end of our brief presentation. Are there any questions? We're happy to answer any questions. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Lee, I want to thank you and your team for all the work you do. It's extremely challenging. And you represent us very well on the prep board. So thank you again for that. I'm wondering with the pandemic, have you noticed any changes in your various categories? Maybe more students or less students? How have you addressed the pandemic? And I know that earlier when we had schools closed, there were arrangements made because there were some students that you had to deal with face-to-face because of their particular designation and or needs. So what have you seen during the pandemic?
Certainly. So I'll certainly saying you all please add from your school's perspective. I will say that post-pandemic, we are seeing our students back in person, which is great. I know during the pandemic, we did have some students that were virtual and that chose to be virtual for various reasons, medical reasons, what have you. Looking at our child count, we do not see a significant decrease in our amount of students that we're serving. It's ebb and flow, maybe 5 to 10 students, I would say. But I would say that we are very healthily back serving our students in person. And we've had, due to the pandemic and due to, I think, a variety of reasons, with housing, we've had students to move, out of Charlottesville City into Charlottesville City. So we've had that ebb and flow. But in terms of the students that we're serving, I would say that our students are back. They're back in person. We're serving them and we're serving them well. So we're really excited about that. And I would say even during the pandemic, when we were serving some students due to specific needs, we were able to really capture some specific needs and hone in. And the teams did a really good job, these ladies did, working with the families and identifying those specific students and those specific needs we needed to be in person during those times and being able to transition. And when you've been at home for quite a while, with families, that apprehension was coming back. And so the teams, this team here and our teachers have done a great job of just making families feel comfortable and giving them that reassurance that we can have students here and we can be safe. So does that answer your question?
Ms. Branson-Morsberger.
I had a quick question. When you were talking about growing our capacity and you're talking about the types of programs, the private day or the Ivy Creek or the residential, the residential, I guess, not so much, but our children, are they in these other programs because of their needs or designations, or is it because of our capacities? I just was wondering, like, those 65 students, what's the criteria, or just a little bit of how it works?
Sure. I just want to clarify, are you speaking for the students who are in alternative placement? So that is a variety of reasons. So the residential, I would say majority of the time, that's not Charlottesville City Schools. And with the alternatives, and Dr. Leslie, you can chime in. With our alternative schools, sometimes you have many different players who are placing some of those, and we are working on the special ed and educational side to support the education. And so for our residential students, I would say that we're certainly supporting the educational piece of that, because they're students from Charlottesville City Schools and they have an IEP, but we're not the placer of the residential pieces for that piece of it. For our students at Ivy Creek, they serve our students with emotional disabilities. And so that's a separate public school. And so we certainly are, when students need an additional intensified service, we are placing our students there. So the 10 that were there, that is Charlottesville City Schools. And our alternative placements, some students come in, and I'm happy to get that specific number, but some students may move into Charlottesville City Schools in a private placement, and through the IEP team, they may determine that remains the least restrictive environment for that student to remain there. And some students, of course, we place in the private separate day school because their needs exceed the capacity of the least restrictive environment being here in Charlottesville City Schools. So I would say it's a mix of both. In terms of the placements, I would say 99.9% of the time for the residential, we aren't placing there. But for the public separate day at Ivy Creek, we're certainly placing there, and the alternative schools. We're likely placing there also, but we also have students that we're having to move in from different places that may be in our alternative placements. But I mean, we're certainly happy to break that down and share it, because that's good data that we're always looking at, because we're always the firm believers. We love our alternative partners. So they serve our students well. But we serve our students best is what we always, that's always our motto. So looking at ways we can continue to grow and support our students here and give students what they need, because we also know that some of our students may require that high intense support in a structured setting somewhere else. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to continue this way, if you don't mind, Mr. Bryant.
Yes, Ms. Lee, thank you and your team for doing an amazing job. I just have one question as relates to your instructional assistants who work with special needs children. Are they at some point in time given opportunities other than professional development days to attend workshops or specialized training sessions as regards to students with certain special needs? Are they given that opportunity to pursue those trainings and workshops and webinars
I would say,
to
you wanna
perfect
speak to
their
that?
craft and working with?
Sure. You wanna speak to that?
I can give any specific example. So we make sure that all of our instructional assistants working with students with autism participate in an autism training through VCU ACE, which is online and comprehensive. They get time to do it, and they found that really valuable. So we provide a lot of on-the-job training, as you can imagine, but we also provide some really specialized training. For example, ECSE teachers receive training on re-regulation routines, and it was just them and our behavior specialist and myself, and it really focused on what an instructional assistant's role is in that. So we do have a number of opportunities, both from kind of state organizations, TTAC, and then in-house training as well.
And I also add to that, Mr. Bryant, our autism behavior specialist also provides, like, not through like formalized, maybe professional learning, professional development, intensive supports for like visual schedules. If there is a specific individual need, provides that like kind of boots on the ground training for teachers, for instructional assistants when it's needed, because sometimes it's a very specific training and a very specific need based on a specific student. And so we have that staff and that capacity to do that during those moments in time. Does that answer your question, Mr. Bryant?
Yeah, and this is continuous throughout the year. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ms. McKeever? Mr. Wade?
Yeah, so I'm just curious of all of the information that you shared with us. Are there one or two points or issues that you saw that, you all think as a team that you want to, it really got to you, like, we can do better, we want to, that's something we need to move the needle on? Is it one or two things that, maybe because that would help us as a board to say, you know what, if they had a little bit more resources to do this, can you maybe identify one or two things?
Sure, absolutely. I think I can speak for hopefully all of us, and if not, you all feel free to speak. I think one of the huge things that we really want to continue to do is build our vertical continuum of internal programs and services for students so that we can serve our students here within Charlottesville City Schools. And I would say that would be a huge, that would be a huge factor for us because, yeah, so that would be one. So if I'm picking two priorities, and then looking at ways to support and continue to have a hyper focus on achievement and moving the needle for our students with disabilities for achievement. That's something that's really, all of these things are important to us, but when we look at our data and we meet weekly and we talk about a variety of things, those are two of the things that we have determined that we really want to focus on and seeing outcomes for our students. And I would say looking at a third one, and I think we're meeting with the high school, Sticks and I soon, looking at ways, not just graduating students, what happens after that for our students who may be accessing our Leap Beyond program. What does that look like after high school? We don't want to just graduate students and have a diploma. We want to make sure that for students who may have a different track, that we're getting those life skills and those opportunities in place for them after school so they can be productive and not just have a piece of paper. So those are three of the critical pieces, I would say, for us and for the team.
I just have one other comment.
Yes, sir.
My father was a special education teacher in Richmond for nearly 40 years, so I understand that all teaching is hard, but this is, you have to have really a little bit special passion and care to do. It's really hard work. So thank you all so much.
Thank you all for your support. Dr. Kraft.
You guys have a great team. So that's the first thing I want to say. I'm, so happy and appreciative of the team and the work that you're doing. I had a couple of questions. One, I wanted to go back to the staffing slide. I guess it was number 5. And just my question is just, are there any of these positions that are unfilled now?
Yes, ma'am.
And could you speak to that a little bit? Like, what does it look like? Whereas, and how is that impacting what you're doing, the open positions?
So yes, we do have some open positions right now. We are working hard with the principals. I know that Ms. Diggs was interviewing this afternoon. And so looking for qualified candidates to put in front of our students. Right now, we're fully staffed in our psychology department, which has not always been the case. We're fully staffed in our speech language pathologists. We're fully staffed, I would say, from the psychology department all the way down. We are fully staffed.
Good.
Which has not always been the case, so that's a great thing. But we are still looking at, I don't have the exact number, I know it's 3. I will not venture to say the number, but we are still looking at some of our teaching positions in, I know, the high school, a couple other places, our instructional assistance position. I'm happy to get that specific number, but I just don't want to give you the wrong information. But we are working with our principals as closely as we can, working with human resources, interviewing as soon as we get someone who's applying that's qualified, to get someone who's qualified before our students, to get that onboarding. So we do have some open positions, but we're working really hard as soon as someone applies, and HR is working really hard to get that onboarding done once we do identify a candidate that's a good fit.
Also, during our recent budget meeting, I think the biggest thing we saw is that it is the instructional assistant. That's our greatest vacancy right now. So I think that the ladies, our schools are doing a really good job of compensating where we have those gaps, but I think where we've seen the biggest vacancy right now is in the instructional assistants across the school division. Just finding a good pool of people to fill those vacancies. But I will say kudos to the schools because they have done a very good job of compensating where we've had those deficiencies, those vacancies.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, even this team here, but there's times that there's a teacher that's out, like they're in there, I mean, like filling in. So everyone truly is hands on deck, but we are actively looking for
Great,
additional people.
Thank you. I wanted to ask one other question. And this is back at the end when you're about the slides with your goals. And you were mentioning, for the long-term goals, wanting to increase the capacity for the intensive social, emotional, behavioral services. And I'm assuming that you're meaning the sort of the in-school day program, or, where the students are actually, in the school, but in a special, separate program for those students. And I know, I know that there was, even across the state, a decrease in those services over the last few years. But I'm wondering, in what will you need in terms to be able to do that, to actually increase that capacity up to 30 students who require those kinds of services? What, how many positions, what are your thoughts about that? You don't have to get real into the weeds, but I'm just curious, how do we make that happen?
Right. So what we're thinking is that our services is truly for access in a least restrictive environment. And so we're not looking at maybe separate programs to have students in a separate setting within the school, and that may be appropriate, but we're looking at how can we, like our STAR classroom, how can we support the students in that setting, give them the resources and tools, and be back in the classroom in the general ed setting, working with them, kind of the ebb and flow. And so I think looking at people resources, I can't give a number on that, 3 to 6 people maybe on that. If we're looking at people, I know we were kind of throwing that back and forth when we were looking at it, and we said serving from 18 students to 30 students. We were really looking at, if we were looking at a vertical, like a continuum, what would that look like for serving, a different additional capacity of students, maybe adding 2 or 3 more people, because it's really having that person or having those physical skill people to be able to work with those students, build those skills, and transfer those skills back into the classroom and be able to kind of have that continuum, if you will, almost like a full circle, to access that setting, almost working ourselves out of a job, really, truly, to build those skills is what we're looking at. So when we look at from 18 to 30, what would that look like? That would look like maybe 6 people. I mean, if you're looking at persons, you guys agree? When you're looking at that, Ms. Diggs, or did you want to speak to that? I know we talked extensively about that. We talk about it weekly, so.
Yes, hello, everyone. So when we're talking about like that program and expanding our continuum, bringing some of our students back from private placement and also being able to keep some of our students who are displaying some significant social or emotional needs in the public school setting. So in order to expand that program, it will require some training of several of our teachers, and also looking at instructional assistants and about 2 to 3 teachers and about 3 instructional assistants to help support the program that's already established when we're looking at our best program. Does that help?
What about space when you're talking about those people? I mean, is there space are there needs in that?
Right. I think yes, because I don't think we're thinking about a separate maybe classroom, if you will. I think we're thinking about building and working within our current structure that we have. I think that as we look at building, that long-term, if we're looking at a specialized, and some of our students in programs, their least restrictive environment is that alternative placement that they're in. And that's where they're best being served at. But as we continue to build that may look like a classroom at a specific school. But I do think that we have the capacity within our schools to support that. if we need to, not if, when we need to, as we build. So I do think that we have the capacity infrastructure to do that within our schools.
Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank you. I want to welcome the newer members to the team and all of you. And thank you for all of the work that you do. I'm intrigued by all of these short-term and long-term goals. And as Mr. Wade said, please do communicate to us how we can support you in meeting the needs of our students and all of our students. So that is appreciated, your work. Thank you.
Thank you all for your support.
Our student rep, do you have any questions? Miss?
I don't.
All right, thank you. I just don't want to forget you. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to get in a better habit of looking over there. So again, thank you to your team for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right, and we are moving now to our 2022-2023 program of studies. Dr. Gurley?
Yes, we have a whole team of people coming up. Yes, our principals from our upper elementary on up, and Dr. Odie will be giving the introduction.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Gurley, good evening. Over the past several weeks, I worked with a team of great staff members to include principals and coordinators to update the program of studies for the 22-23 school year. I'd like to thank the entire team for their work to streamline the document so that it is user-friendly and comprehensive for families. Okay, next slide. Tonight, we will give a brief overview of the purpose of a program of studies, share the specific changes for schools for your review, and finally answer questions and discuss next steps. Next slide, please. Our program of studies contains a listing of academic, career, and technical or other elective courses that incorporate secondary education. It also contains a complete list of electives that may be offered within the CCS 6 through 12 program. Elective offerings are based on student interest and staffing availability. Next slide, please. So at this time, staff will present to you our 2022-2023 program of studies. Dr. Adam Hastings will start the presentation with Walker updates, and then we will move on to Mr. Rodney Jordan for Buford, on to Dr. Eric Irizarry for CHS, and Ms. Jill Dahl for LMA, and then finish up with Stephanie Carter for K-Tech. Dr. Hastings, if you would get us started.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Gurley, good evening. We have 3 slides for Walker today, but there's not a lot here of change. The first is the updates to the program of study around art and Spanish. We have new updated standards in art, and we are now, as you know, we've been operating under a new Spanish program, Walker, for the last couple of years, and that has allowed us to take a, am I loud enough? I can't tell if everyone can hear me. Sorry, it looks like everyone's straining to hear me. And in Spanish, as you know, we've been adjusting the format of Spanish over the last few years, and now we have a team in place and has had a chance to take a look at the curriculum in Spanish and really getting a deep dive into that. We're really happy with the way that program is working right now. And both of these courses, we just adjusted the description, no change to the substance of the course, just to note that students at Walker, as you know, can begin any elective in their 5th grade year or their 6th grade year. So for example, you could start art in 6th grade after not having taken it in 5th grade. So you'll see that theme repeated in the next 2 slides. Band and excuse me. Somebody else is doing the movement. No, that's good. Thanks, Leslie. So same story with band and orchestra. We have adjusted the course description to show that students can begin these classes in either 5th or 6th grade, and we differentiate within the class. As you know, we have students who might perform at a beginning or an intermediate level, but students can start that in either grade. And finally, we're adjusting the name of pre-engineering. I came to you several years ago, and I'm so thankful that we were able to start the pre-engineering program at Walker. But we don't call other courses pre, maybe pre-algebra, I suppose, but we don't call other courses pre, we call them introduction to. And so this is really an effort of aligning just the name of the course, so that's Introduction to Engineering. Fairly simple changes this year for Walker. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Gurley, members of the board. We probably have fewer changes than Walker this year. We don't have many changes to our program this year. We did add theater to Buford this year. We now have a full-time program at Buford. We offer a full year course. We have a theater teacher who is at Buford during the school day. And with our fine art program, we try to offer a variety of courses to give our students options to take different courses. And then we've revised the descriptions to just update the course content facing and prerequisites. And we also offer courses for our advanced musicians who do have the opportunity to start playing their instruments at Walker. Thank you.
Dr. Gurley, board chair, board, welcome, Rachel. We have a few adjustments in the Charlottesville High School program of study. Urban farming currently is offered as an entrepreneurship CTE course. We're going to be changing that just to align better with Buford, and that's going to be ag business now. So there will be 1 year of a transition. This will still allow students to get the business skills, maintain the agricultural side of things, but also it'll allow us to use CTE funding a little more efficiently with that program. Sports medicine is moving from our health and physical education over to our CTE department as well. The VDOE has issued a new CTE course that allows for a less intensive 140-hour version. This could be the start of another CTE pathway in the medical field. This could be, you see some of the occupations down below, but this would be an entry-level class into some of these courses. Currently, the course is taught by our head trainer, Joella Matheny. That'll still remain the same, but instead of just being a PE elective, this will be a CTE credit, which will, again, allow us to create another pathway possibly at Charlottesville High School. This is a new course, Spanish for fluent speakers. Obviously, with our ESL population increasing, this course would allow students that speak Spanish as their first language to increase their native language and also get that foreign language credit. So instead of just taking basic Spanish 1, this would be for fluent speakers that will really address their native language and their skills, which would be beneficial for them, not only in their foreign language classes, but also their other classes as well. In Digital Art 2, we do have Digital Art 1. It's quickly becoming one of our most popular art classes. Last year with COVID, we just kind of put the brakes on it. We didn't know kind of where we were going to be this year. It continues to be a popular class, so we'd like to offer Digital Art 2 for our students that will allow them to further their skills, especially in Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. More importantly, it'll allow students to get that sequential credit in art that they need as well. So the prerequisite for Digital Art 1 is still Art 1. So this would be actually their third level in art. And leadership development, leaders for tomorrow. Does that mean?
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Gurley, school board members. Ours is pretty simple. These courses are already currently in the program of study, leadership development and leaders for tomorrow. They're currently listed as CTE courses. We are able to have them we're just adding that they would be non-CTE courses at LMA and a local elective credit, which would allow us to provide a credit for the students who are taking SEL in 11th and 12th grade. That's all we have.
Good evening, Madam Chair, school board members, and Dr. Gurley.
We also at K-Tech have very minimal changes. We have put substantial changes in over the last few years, and so those things are finally coming to fruition. This year, we're simply asking to remove culinary specialization as well as salon assistant, just because we've had it in for 3 years and we have not had enrollment. So we are removing those classes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, team. Hang tight in case there are questions, but that does lead us to our next step slide. And here we know that you're going to take some time to review this over the next month. And we hope to be able to come back in January and have you approve our 22-23 program of studies. At this time, our team does welcome any questions that you may have.
You. I think what I'll do is just call up who I see first. So Dr. Irizarry, if you will come up, and then we'll start down here. Dr. Kraft, if you have any questions for him. So what I was going to have Dr. Irizarry come up because I saw him first. So and I'm going to start down here with Dr. Kraft, and if you have any questions that pertain to the CHS proposed changes, and we'll go through one at a time with the principals.
Actually, no.
Wade? Ms. McKeever?
I don't have the questions.
So maybe it'll be easy. Mr. Bryant, Ms. Perrier?
Dr. Irizarry, could you and/or Mr. Jordan explain to me the difference in the 8022 course? You said it's an extension of urban farming from Beaufort. How does that work? If you could explain that.
So the way CTE courses work, they're tied directly to those CTE codes. So our Perkins funding and some of the other CTE funding is tied directly to the type of class. So entrepreneurship is a very broad class. We were running urban farming as an entrepreneur class because it does touch on the business side of the agricultural, urban farming, farm to table, things like that. However, because it's entrepreneurship, things like rakes, cow manure couldn't be purchased with our Perkins funds because it was not coded as agriculture. There's certain items you can buy. What this does is this allows us to do ag business from Beaufort all the way up to the high school. Is that what you're asking? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Yeah, so
it's like a continuation.
it will be. It would be a pathway. It would be a more defined pathway from Beaufort to the high school.
So I could do ag business at Beaufort and then come to the high school and continue.
Yep. Yes.
I just want to comment that the language class for Spanish speakers, that seemed very interesting and a nice addition. And just as a comment to all of the principals, this is one of my favorite meetings because I think of you all as like a dream team when you come up. So I just want to thank you guys for everything you do, for being leaders in your buildings, and we appreciate it.
Any questions from you? No? Dr. I was curious about and if clarify, and maybe I missed it, for the Spanish for fluent speakers. So they would take 1 and 2, and then this would count as their third.
It would count in their elective sequence. Right now, what we know about language acquisition is that some of our ESL Spanish speakers, depending on when and where their fluency is with their native language, it could range anywhere from, high school level, even lower. So what we're trying to do is strengthen that native language, which will just really helps them not only in their native language, in this case, Spanish, but also in their English acquisition as well. So yeah, so it would be part of their Spanish sequence, their foreign language sequence.
Cool, thank you. And then staffing wise, we have somebody who would fill that.
Yep.
Awesome.
And this is one of the courses that we're looking at staffing right now. Obviously, Spanish is our most popular course, so it will depend on, interest and the ability to teach it. But we did want to put it in the program of study because we feel we have a plan that we could offer it next year.
Great, thank you. All right. So maybe this is, if anybody has questions specific for Mr. Jordan regarding Buford, and we will start now down here with, nope, Ms. Purrier, Mr. Bryant.
My question is, just feels like just to the ether because you weren't here last year and Dr. Gurley wasn't here last year, but I just can't recall because my memory's so bad about how it is that we came to have a theater teacher at Buford. And do you guys remember budgeting a theater teacher last year?
Yes.
Just to the world.
During this process last year, and then at this meeting, I believe it was Ms. Delarier that presented for Buford at that time, and we did add a theater course, a drama course, because they wanted to add more electives. I believe urban farming was added last year as well, because the family and consumer sciences teacher had retired. And so, and it was no longer in place at the high school, so we changed it to urban farming for another CTE opportunity at Buford. So these were, that was just an opportunity to add additional electives for Buford students this time last year.
So we added a course in theater
Mhm.
and that is now basically a full-time position.
It is not a full-time position right now. It is a 0.6 position right now. She teaches several courses, including a virtual course right now. It is a very, 3 in the afternoon, you can come up and finish. I don't need to be the middleman.
Sorry. Currently we do have a theater teacher who's a 0.6, and she teaches 3 classes in the afternoon at Buford, and she teaches 1 virtual course.
Okay, great.
Dr. Odie, thanks for jogging our memory. I have a specific visual of the Zoom screen.
I know.
Because we were Zooming
About
during this.
who was-
Yeah, so thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Jordan? All right, thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Dr. Kraft.
I was just hoping that I would like to understand just a little bit better about the, the difference in the updated course content or pacing. And I wondered if you could give like one example of, you were saying it's art, band, chorus, and orchestra, or just maybe one example of some of these changes, what they look like.
So for example, so students who do not, in order for students to take advanced orchestra at Buford, they have to have taken orchestra at Walker
They do.
right now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Even if, what if they moved here without going to Walker?
So in order to take orchestra in 7th grade, they had to have taken it prior in 6th grade, even if they're coming from a different. School
And
division.
that's a change. So before they could take it orchestra at Buford if they had not had it at Walker.
So I think that's the way that it has been. I don't think that's a change. Sorry, please forgive me. I'm so sorry.
No, I know, that's okay.
Adam may be able to add into this, but in the program of studies last year, or for this current year, as well as this 2022-23, it does state that there's a prereq that is required, but there can also be a teacher recommendation or an audition, I believe is the language.
okay.
And Adam, you can correct me on that.
Okay.
That's correct. So when we think of Walker and Buford, I understand they're distinct buildings, but we really try to think of them as a 4-year program.
Mhm.
And so what we've done is we have made the adjustment at Walker as the entry point, so a student can join in 5th or 6th grade. We certainly have students who come maybe in 7th grade and say, I want to do this. And there are individualized approaches to how you might get a student in. Perhaps there's a playoff, perhaps they're taking lessons outside of, perhaps something's going on outside of school to make that happen. But the course sequence begins in 5th or in 6th grade. And so this adjustment just continues to allow for that entry into the program.
Okay.
And then an example about art, just because it's at Walker as well, we've seen an update to the state standards for art. And so as a result, we've updated some of the course descriptions so that it matches the information that we get from the state.
Great. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any questions from anybody here for regarding LMA? Doc-
Yes, I wanted to just understand the leadership development course and what that is. What is it? What are the objectives for that course?
So in the course description for both of the leadership development and Leaders for Tomorrow, it talks about job readiness, job skills, how to work collaboratively together, how to work in a workforce environment. And so SEL, social emotional learning at LMA, the students have a class that they take all 4 years, and we've never had like an elective to align it to. And these fit very nicely with the same objectives of the social emotional learning that the kids take. And so we get much better buy-in when we can give them a credit at the end of the day for it. In 11th, 12th grade, we always struggled because we didn't have an elective to align it to. So when we were reviewing the program of study, came across these courses, reading them. And so we're allowed to do local awarded elective credits. So it doesn't have to be a CTE teacher as teacher of record.
Thanks.
Any other questions for her? Okay. Dr. Hastings, I see you standing there. Any questions for Dr. Hastings surrounding changes proposed at Walker? All right. How about for Ms. Carter at K-Tech? All right. I think that's it. Thank you all very much for everything that you do. Appreciate you all. Okay, we are now moving on to the 2022-2023 school year calendar presentation.
And that will be Dr. Odie, and she will talk about our calendar that we have been working very closely with Albemarle County.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Gurley, Madam Chair, members of the board. It's great to be before you again to talk about the draft 2022-2023 school calendar. As Dr. Gurley just stated, this calendar was developed through collaboration amongst the Charlottesville City and Albemarle County Public Schools Calendar Committee members, teachers, parents, school and division administrators met with the Albemarle team on several occasions to work to align our calendars. After our conversations, we did work to create this draft that you see before you. Our draft calendar was posted for comment from the staff and the community. And we had 92 responses that came in as for the survey. And the majority of those responses were in favor of keeping the calendar as it is. If you would take a look at the calendar you have there, I'll lay out some key points for you. We do have a start date of August 24th, about the same as what we usually have. We have 176 instructional days and 1,026 instructional hours. This is a change that both school divisions are making. The Virginia Code requires school divisions to either include 180 instructional days or 990 instructional hours. And so both school divisions have chosen to move towards the instructional hours. And this, as you can see, this is going to allow us to provide additional teacher work days so that we can break up some of the longer weeks that have been regularly included in calendars. We do have 5 professional learning days as we have this year. And we have dedicated, like I said a few moments ago, dedicated teacher work days. In fact, there are 6 teacher work days outside of the teacher work week that are included on the calendar. And this is, again, to eliminate the long weeks without a break for our teachers and students, and to give those teachers some time to plan with their colleagues. We do have the elimination of half-days. We heard loud and clear from parents and staff that that was not a favorite thing for them. Childcare and just what the day typically looked like in the school. So we did eliminate those half-days. And you will see in February, we added in President's Day as a student and staff holiday. And so that breaks up that long month there. Our last day of school, as you can see, is June 9th. And a big piece of our calendar, as I said early on in the presentation, is that we are aligned with our counterpart, Albemarle County Public Schools. Our spring break, our winter break, the teacher work days, PL days, they're aligned. And we did work really hard because we knew that was important to families. We have people that work in Charlottesville City but live in Albemarle County. And so students in one school division, but they work in another. I know that that was important to you all last year when we presented as well, as one of the questions that came up. So this calendar is informational for you today, and we will continue discussion with Albemarle. I believe they are presenting their calendar tonight as well. So we'll continue with discussion with them after their presentation. We did meet with them a couple of times, and our teams worked really hard because we were not all necessarily right there at the same place at first, but we came to a good point. We do hope to ask the board to approve our calendar for 22-23 when we come back to our board meeting in January. At this time, I will take questions.
Ms. Puryear, any questions from you?
I think you answered it, Dr. Odie, but I think you answered it, but I believe in the changing of your calendar, going from days to hours. With your PD days, we are embracing the culture of care model, and this will allow the staff members to have flexibility to either work from home or be in the building to manage those days, or are all of our PD days expected to be in person?
So we hadn't talked about whether they would be in person or at home. This year, for the 21-22 school year, we did make that change. For the days that we added later in the year, for the PL day that's in March, the one we just also had, they are work from home. Unless the principal had a guest coming in, that was up to the school administrator. So we hadn't gotten to the point to see what those PL days would look like. That's one of our next steps, to start planning professional learning for next year. But we've learned so much over the last year and a half about Zoom and virtual options. So it's something that we would certainly talk about.
Mr. Bryan? Ms. McKeever?
I just always want to say the work of creating the calendar is obviously incredibly challenging. It is one of the few, I think, like nobody's ever going to be happy, and that literally includes me every single year. So I find that as a parent, 3 weekends, long weekends in January, and then all of these kind of long weekends in October and November, it's just too much for a parent to manage what day their kids are not going to be in school, then try to, and so I feel like there's just a lot of, like, I want to give teachers breaks and I want to give our staff breaks. So I'm struggling with this balance, and I just don't think that this calendar does that. And for example, I know that for a fact, like, Halloween is an incredibly challenging time for teachers. The day after Halloween is a very challenging time for teachers. So it's like, well, why have the 2 days before off, before Halloween, rather than Halloween? And then why have the 7th off when we really only need the 8th off? And so all of these decisions I am never happy with. And I just feel like as a parent with children in schools, having to manage all of these long weekends and the childcare associated with it is a lot. And I just find that, like, it's very challenging for families. And while I respect all the work that goes into it, I also feel like, for example, I appreciate very much, for example, that Rosh Hashanah is off on the 26th. Some of that is off, which is great. But I struggle with all of the 3-day and 4-day weekends that happen like every other week for a while. And then there's like whole months of only 1 day off. So I just feel like that I just needed to say that, because I don't know that there is an easy way to make this palatable for everybody. But I do think that it's important to kind of just voice every year my concern that these long weekends are when our children actually get in trouble. So there's just, I mean, that it seems to be, if you can look at like on a Tuesday or a Monday of a long weekend, that's where incidents happen. And that's because there's no childcare. And I just feel like as a school division, that's something that, and I'm not saying it's on that we're not childcare, right? That's what I've been very clear about all throughout COVID. So it's a balance that I understand is hard. And but I definitely just wanted to make a voice to that concern.
And I just want to say too, I really appreciate that we heard some of that during the calendar planning process. And I think, you know, like when we take a look at the beginning of the school year, the way the school starts and the way the school year, so the way the first 9 weeks ends. And then we also have the building that's being used for elections. So it's like a whole lot of perfect storm-ish type things that it's hard to get around. So it's like, if we could have if there was a different polling place, then most certainly the buildings would be open. But it's just some things, just especially at the beginning of the year, they just fall right in line, and then it's like really no way around those things. But I think I want to you know, just kudos to both teams from both localities, is that, you know, just really being thoughtful about how can we retool some of those things. Because we saw some of those comments during the planning process, and so I think we're going to continue to always consider those things and like how can we make those things better. But then as we start to move throughout the year, you know, one thing we particularly hear from secondary is like the need to have the planning to close out at the semester time. So they just happen, unfortunately, right behind one another. But I think we're just going to continue to plan through it, and we can always do better.
Mr. Wade? Dr. Kraft? Yeah, just want to thank you. And I think maybe you guys touched on a little bit, but I was just curious, and I think I asked the same question last year. I was just curious about the comments that didn't necessarily jive with what you presented tonight. Like, what were they? Was there a trend, or were there?
So I have a little note here, and I'll start with some of the commendations. Appreciate the alignment with the county schools, appreciate the teacher work days at the end of each 9 weeks, appreciate the elimination of half days. The added breaks during the second half of the year are especially helpful. Appreciate the efforts to include more days off in February and March are some of the themes that we saw as far as accommodations. As far as recommendations and considerations, Ms. McKeever, there were, of the folks that did not agree with the calendar, it was loud and clear that those folks wanted Halloween off and the day after Halloween. There were concerns about the combining or reconfiguring of the days off in October and November. And, you know, the election day is at a weird time during that second week of November. And so it was just a challenge. There was a question about adding of a teacher workday at the end of each month. And there were a couple people that said they wanted to start school on a Monday. And I know historically, Charlottesville has started on a Wednesday, but there were a couple people, and I only wrote these down if two people or three people said something about it. So people were concerned about the end of October and the beginning of November. And we did there were at one point at the beginning of our calendar planning, there were 3 broken weeks there. And so we worked with Albemarle and got it into the week of October 26th and the week of November 7th. But there was also initially a day in the week of the 31st. So it just really took a lot of give and take and just trying to make it work the best that we could. And in the end, as of right now, both schools are aligned in the calendar, which is also a big part, an important part of our planning.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate the work that went into this.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we are moving on to our COVID update. Dr. Gurley?
Our COVID queen, Dr. Baptist.
Yes. Last month I came and told you that we had gone down to the CHS orange. We're back in the red. But we're going to get back in the orange and down to the yellow and down to the blue. But we're going to work on it. So the update for this month, it's coming. Next slide, please. As you know, I attend a meeting every Tuesday with Blue Ridge Health Department that has our pediatricians and other school officials from around the area. So this is just some of the information they gave me this Tuesday. You can see what some of the numbers were for the past couple of weeks, and they do it more about minors since this is more about school folks rather than just the overall community. So we did have fewer minors this past week, but also it was a short week and not as much testing going on during Thanksgiving. So while it looked really good, like it was half, it wasn't quite apples to apples on that. We did see a slight decrease when you add in ages 5 through 11 and 12 through 18 from the week before. And for the overall district, which would include all the counties around us, we did have 385 cases. Now that was adults and children there. And I think the week before it had been 382 or some such number. So it was very similar from the week before. And because we've had some upticks in localities, the health department is encouraging people to look at the testing schedule that is on the Blue Ridge Health Department page, and they're trying to do more testing that has been done in the past. So I wanted to make sure I included that. Last month, I showed you the level of transmission. This is as recently as Monday. They do only update it Monday, and you can see Charlottesville in the middle of that little orange section near the yellow. Albemarle County is orange, which is substantial. Charlottesville City is in the red, and all of the other localities in the Blue Ridge Health District are also in red. And we are hoping that we will get us back down to the other colors later and that Albemarle doesn't go up into the red. Here's our dashboard. I updated it late yesterday afternoon. So the only other cases that would be involved in Charlottesville City Schools would be 2 cases that we had today. So I'll add them to the dashboard tonight. But so you can see we since September, we've had low numbers across, but we did have more this week than we did last week. But again, last week we were in school 2 days. And so we didn't hear as much about cases even during the rest of the week. So it's not as concerning that we did go up some from last week. Occasionally I get asked about how the cases are by site. So here we are by each of our school sites. This is a combination of students and staff. And I did that because sometimes we have very, very low numbers of one or the other, and it would almost be identifying. So you can see this is since July 1st. So it's not since the beginning of the pandemic, but since July 1st. And yes, we have some schools that have had higher numbers. Walker at this point does have the highest number, but interestingly, many of the cases at Walker have also had siblings at other schools, because Walker kind of is like the first place that they're all together, and we see more sibling cases matching up. We still have not found many cases that we attribute to school. We've had a few cases that have been close contacts at school, but the vast majority of our cases have been transmitted by family members or outside sporting events, things like that, and have come to school, and we've been able to stop the transmission in school. But this is where we are at this point as of 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Vaccinations is still a big thing. We have been vaccinating more with the ages 5 through 11. You can see the schedule. We've already had 4 clinics that were completed for the first round. We had another clinic this week at Jackson Via for their second shots, and supposed to have been one this afternoon at Jackson Via for the second shots. So we're getting there, and everyone that has wanted to have one of the vaccinations through one of our clinics will be vaccinated by the time they get out for Christmas break. Now, for children, it's the same as adults. You're not considered fully vaccinated until 2 weeks after the shot, but you will have much more protection and during that time than previously. So on the call Tuesday, around the state, well, no, in the Blue Ridge District, 35% of our students, our children ages 5 through 11 have had their first shot. Within that region for Charlottesville and Albemarle, it's approximately 45%. So that's doing pretty well. And, a lot of people really wanted it right at first, and that has slowed down a little bit, but we're continuing to encourage people to do that as more and more events are bringing people inside and closer contact with each other. So testing, our VISTA testing program that we have been doing, we're doing that 3 days a week. And I am still very excited about it. I'm much more excited than when it was going to be a pooled program. It is now the PCR, straight PCR test. We get the results by 9 o'clock that night. So before I get home tonight, probably I will have the results from the schools that were done today. Beth, Chuck, and I both look at them. And if there is a positive case, then I do contacts with the family on that. If there are no positive cases, she sends out the messages to let everybody know it was okay. And out of doing this now for 3 or 4 weeks, we've only found 3 positive cases through the program. So this is one of those times we want numbers to be very low. We don't want to find anything. But so we've been pleased that our numbers have been as low. And we certainly don't feel like it is a useless process just because our numbers are low. I think it's a great process because we've been able to tell families everything is okay for right now. We still do have Binex rapid tests for the schools. And oops, I need to change the rest of this sentence about let's get checked PCR tests, because I found out this afternoon that our tests that we had, those are the PCR tests that get shipped out. They're all expired, but a couple of our schools happen to have tests that are in 122, so they're still okay. But most of the ones throughout the district are expired yesterday, and nobody knew that was happening. So we now recycle them. So I will now have recyclable PCR tests that we cannot use since they're 1 day out of date. Next one. So what are the recommendations for us to do at this point? Continue with what we're doing. Keep all of our school-based mitigations that we've got going, continue with our masking, and continue with our vaccination efforts, especially as the weather is changing and we're inside more and want to make sure that we have people vaccinated and boosted. I listened to Dr. Fauci yesterday, and he was greatly encouraging people to go ahead and get that booster if you're eligible, and that he believes that before too long, the definition of full vaccination will include the boostering on top of that. So encouraging everybody to get the vaccination. If anybody within the school system is having problems finding a place to get a vaccination, if they'll contact me, I will help them get an appointment either at the CVC, which I know that some of the different places are getting ready to close just because of timing, but I will be glad to try to help any of our folks who are looking for vaccinations. So just as we think Delta is getting ready to maybe begin to settle, we've got Omicron. And Tuesday, VDH did put out a statement about Omicron, and this is the statement. You'll need to link to that to see exactly what they've said. But basically, they're encouraging everybody to do what we've been doing, not to panic about it. Just continue to get the vaccinations, get the boosters, can keep the testing going, masking, staying at home if you're sick. So I haven't watched any news today to know if there's been more spread of that, but we don't need to panic. We just need to keep going with what we're doing, and we'll follow what advice we get. So I would ask if you've got any questions.
All right, questions or comments? We'll start down, Dr. Kraft.
This may either be for you or Dr. Gurley, but I was just wondering about the protocol for communicating to the school populations where when we do find a case now, what are we doing? Who are we notifying within a school?
We're trying to be transparent, but we're also trying to maintain the confidentiality. So we would say that there has been a case within a school or in a classroom. Beth Chuck works with principals every time we have a case to help them with the messaging on that. We certainly don't identify the case. If we have more than one case in a classroom, we look to see whether the transmission is within the class, whether we need to look at closing that class, and we would get support from the health district before we would do anything like that. And fortunately, we've only had to do that for 2 classes throughout the entire school year.
So does the message go out to the whole school population, all parents, if there's a case found in the school?
I think that is what the message is from Beth, that there has been a case.
That is the case, at least at Walker and Venable.
Yeah,
They,
I'm pretty,
we get, like, the message says that there's been X number of cases, the homerooms have been identified, and the close contacts have been identified. And so that message goes out to all the parents in that school.
and we try to get those out the day that we know about them. And I try to update the dashboard in the evening after the principals have had a chance to get that message out, because I don't want the first time that it's seen to come out on the dashboard with people not understanding what it is, but we try to get it out that day.
Thank you.
Mr. Wade? Ms. McKeever?
I just want to encourage everybody to get your 5 to 11-year-olds vaccinated as soon as possible. With the uptick at Walker this week after the holiday, I'm kind of concerned about post-Christmas and winter holiday uptick among those 5 to 11 who have only recently been allowed to be vaccinated or qualified to be vaccinated. So I know every single day, Dr. Perriello pretty much says, if you want a vaccine at Pediatric Associates, to DM her on Twitter. And it is really, there is plenty of vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds. It does take 2 shots, which if your child is 11, they get a lot more than that at their physical. So I would just really encourage everybody to get their children vaccinated. Also, to prevent the spread. I feel like the school's doing as good a job as they can mitigating spread, and I just think this just adds a great other layer of protection for our staff and our students and families at home. And so to the extent that we can offer additional clinics in the coming weeks, either post-winter break, whatever, just to continue that effort. I just really feel like the health district has been very open to collaborating with us. And I encourage everybody to also get a booster. That was super easy, and you can pretty much just walk in right now at the Seminole Square location and get one. So thank you.
Mr. Bryant? Ms. Puryear?
Dr. Baptist, thank you again. And I have 2 questions. One, in your presentation, you talked about the rapid test kits. If someone in a building has a symptom are those the people that you use your rapid test kits for? How does that work?
We can use the rapid test for people within our buildings who are symptomatic. I will tell you that the health district nor our pediatricians want a rapid test to be accepted as a negative test. A positive rapid test is more likely to be accurate. I didn't say fully accurate, more likely to be accurate than a negative. So if we have a positive rapid test, it's more likely the person really is positive, but to know for sure, you need the PCR. If someone has a negative rapid test, we're still going to recommend the PCR. So the rapid test is more of a screening test. Now, through the VISTA program, we received 1,036, I think it was, of those tests. And we've used quite a few, but I still have several hundred of those that are also going to expire, I think, the first day we're out for winter break. And we will not be able to use them once the expiration date occurs.
Okay. With all of the things going on as it relates to COVID, there have been extra monies, et cetera, all over. I'm wondering, with COVID, is there a special classification for persons that need to be out? If you have a staff member that presents or a staff member who has a family member who may have COVID, is there a special category, or do we use the sick leave that they have? How does that work?
If someone is out because of either a COVID diagnosis or waiting for a COVID diagnosis or taking care of a family member within their home, they initially take sick leave.
Okay.
And then their supervisor, if the supervisor approves it, sends me a message with the employee's name and the dates they were out and the reason they were out. They were out taking care of the child who had COVID or they had COVID. And once the supervisor approves that, then I send that through to one other person in HR and to payroll to change that from their sick leave to what we're calling COVID leave.
Okay.
So they're not having to take their sick leave, but it has to be supervisor approval. So a principal or another supervisor has to send me that message and then we make that shift.
And that would be the same as if an employee or someone in their household woke up tomorrow with COVID-like symptoms and they needed to be off to take the necessary test, et cetera, et cetera.
If they take the necessary test, then once the test result comes back, if it's negative, then they would be expected to switch over to sick leave. If you found out it was bronchitis,
Right.
then they would switch over to sick leave or, some other illness. But as long as it's COVID related, it would switch to COVID leave if the supervisor approves it.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Bryson Morrisberger?
Yes, I just have two follow-up questions to what Ms. Puryear just asked. So if I'm someone and I say that my husband has been exposed and I'm working in the school, do I call and then I have to provide a negative test before I can come back? What's the procedure if a teacher needs to quarantine or a teacher needs to take care of a student, their child? What's the procedure for staff for how they are, are they automatically out until they provide the test result?
The answer to that is it depends. If the employee has been fully vaccinated, they are not required to quarantine if they are symptom-free. So say you're an employee, your spouse has COVID, but you're not having any symptoms and you're fully vaccinated, you're welcome to come back to work. If you start showing symptoms though, then you would need to be out and be tested. If you are exposed to someone and you're fully vaccinated, you're exposed to someone who has COVID, the recommendation is you get tested 5 to 7 days after that exposure. So again, if you're symptom-free, we still want you to get tested after 5 to 7 days, but you're welcome to work during that time period, unless you start showing symptoms.
I'm not an expert, but is that there haven't been any issues with like the person still teaching and then getting a positive result later?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part of that.
Have there been any like issues where the person isn't symptomatic and they're still teaching, but they were positive? Like, I know it's a lot going on. I'm just wondering about the possible exposure? or
Quite a
or-
few of the cases that we have had, not only just in our health district, but that throughout the country, have been of people who are asymptomatic. So that's one reason we're wanting to do all of the testing that we're doing with this company in our schools every week. And out of the 3 cases that have been found positive, 2 of them were asymptomatic, had no idea that they had COVID. So that's why we would want people to get tested. So if you are with someone who has it, get tested so that we can make sure that even though you don't have the symptoms, that you are negative.
Okay. And then you were saying if the supervisor approves, is it just like, is it semantics or is it?
Pretty much. I mean, if it's someone in the schools, they're going to know if the person has been out. And we certainly depend on the employee to be upfront with us about whatever the issues are. But we know that right now, people have needed to be out because of COVID. We don't want them to be penalized with their sick leave because of required quarantines or isolations. So we want to try to work with people and just want people to work with us to, let's all work on this together and be upfront and honest about the reasons that people need to be out. And I don't think people have taken advantage of us.
Thank you.
Right. I think I don't really have questions. I'll just make comments later. So thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Any questions from board members on the board response to written reports? And as Dr. Baptist said, the information that was in that report was presented. All right, and we're going to move on to our second opportunity for comments from members of the community. Most of the folks in the media center have departed. Did anybody else like to step up to the podium? Possibly. Yes. Hello.
Good evening. I just wanted to also share my great appreciation for the service and contributions that Mr. Juan Diego Wade and Ms. Leah Purrier have made. I thank you kindly and respectfully for your impeccable service and contributions to the families and staff of Charlottesville City Schools. I've personally known you both for over 2 decades, and your support goes unmatched. Mr. Wade, I wish you well serving on Charlottesville City Council, and I look forward to our continued collaboration. Ms. Purrier, I know firsthand how much you love our community and how much you care for our people. My family has personally benefited from all the support and love that you have provided us. It is so appreciative. I also appreciate you for your much needed representation on this school board as a Black woman leader, and you will sorely be missed. I'm grateful that I know where to find you and how to find you. To the remaining school board members and to the new ones that are coming in, you have tough shoes to fill because there is only one Leah Wilson Purrier. Ms. Purrier, I leave you with a quote by Harriet Tubman. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, patience, and passion to reach for the stars and to change the world. And I am grateful, and we are grateful that you have changed our world for the better. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Como, do we have anybody?
So we do. First initial, And last name is Bellamy. Should be able to speak at this time and unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Wes Bellamy. I just wanted to call in and similar to Ms. Clemens Nazir, like to send my sincere gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Wade and Ms. Leah Perrier, AKA Mama P, as many of us like to call her and affectionately know her as. Your commitment to our community can never be overstated. Your commitment to ensuring that young people across the city, as well as the Commonwealth as a whole, receive what they need in a timely manner can also never be understated. You will be surely missed, and we hope you know the gratitude that so many of us have for you and your work. As you continue to your next chapter, we know that you will continue to impact and have a positive impact and role on lives, not just young people's lives, but lives across the community. So thank you, Mr. Wade. I look forward to the work in which you're going to do on City Council, and to those who are coming in. I look forward to you all making a positive impact within our community. We are in a much better place than we have been in years past. And I just look forward to seeing where we go in the future. So much respect to all of you. And again, thank you for your service, Mama P and Brother Wade.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Cumberland, anybody else?
At this time, there's nobody else in the attendees gallery or on chat that have indicated they would like to speak during the public comment.
We'll give it just a couple more seconds here. Okay, I think we're clear, so thank you. And now we will resume, or we can start over if people have extra comments, but we'll start down here with Dr. Kraft as far as board member comments.
Well, Leah, Juan, people have said so much, and I would echo all of that. I wanted to say a couple of things for myself. My appreciation, the integrity that you have brought to your roles as school board members, and just sort of showing me and showing us really how to do this has been invaluable to me. And I think that sense of integrity is at the core of everything that we do, and and our success, our ability to actually lead this division. And you have modeled that in ways, just in huge ways. And I really appreciate that very much. For the things that you've done, both in the public setting and also behind the scenes that the public doesn't see, in helping our school board work together more effectively as a team, have been so important. And you both have done so much of that. And in my 6 years, I've just seen what a difference that has made. It's hard, and we become passionate about various things, as board members and citizens of the community. And it's so important that we do work together as a team. And well, I'm afraid I'm going to cry here. So let me just move on. Thank you for that. And for me, you've taught me a tremendous amount about being a school board member and what it is. It's really hard when you come in. You think you have a sense of it. I'll speak to you guys out here, but there's just so much more to it, and it takes a while to figure it out, and figure out who you want to be as a board member. and how to bring yourself to the role. And I've just learned so much from both of you. And finally, thank you for your friendship, which will continue. I'm grateful for that, but I really, really appreciate it. And I won't say it, well, I'll say it one more time. I will miss you.
Mr. Wade, would you like to make comment now or wait to the end? Or?
I won't say anything. I'm not sure. I'm gonna try to continue the trade of keeping the meetings short and concise. Yes, I'm just humbled by all of the words of support, and I look forward to continue to serve in this great city.
Yes, sir. Ms. McKeever?
Thank you. I feel like there's a lot of things that have been said, and I echo all of those as well. And I don't know how, I just think it's going to be really different being on the board, and I'm looking forward to that challenge, but also reminded as like how functional this board has been and how you've been able to work through so much over the past, well, I've been on it 10 years now, but during your tenure to make the division where we are today, which is a very good functioning division. And I'm so grateful for your leadership, Ms. Purrier and Mr. Wade. And I look forward to being, calling you up and dancing at various, events like Grace Tinsley and other things. So I also will keep my comments brief for Mr. Wade's sake. Thank you for your service. Thank you, and I will miss you.
Thank you. Mr. Bryant?
I'll start with Mr. Wade. Juan, you are a sweet, sweet spirit and a first-class act. I concur with everybody said about you this evening. But most importantly, on a personal note, I want to thank you for reaching out to me when I was appointed to the board in 2018. You called me up and said, let's go to lunch, let's talk. And that set the tone for my tenure on the board. I really appreciated that. I was nervous, I did many years in the classroom and teaching, but never serving on a school board. But you set the tone and you gave me a lot of good pointers, and that really made me feel good. Also, you and I have mentored together a student, or maybe a student or two, we kind of crossed. And you were always very gracious. I'm from the old school, and I like things A, B, C, D. Sometimes they don't always go that way, but you were able to walk me through that gently and get me back get me back on track in terms of my expectations of students. So I do appreciate that, and I do thank you for your service. You're going to do wondrous things on the city council. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. You're going to do great things along with your colleagues. So I'm looking forward to you working on the other side. Mrs. Purrier, Mama P, Sister Dear, you and I go back. I think I first met you in 1981. Didn't know you then, but you and the esteemed Dr. Purrier were coming into church at Trinity. And of course, being a former Upward Bound student under the directorship of the late Stephen Waters, I said, I got to meet this lady, because, we got to find out who she is. She rolling up in here, being the next director of Upward Bound. And sure enough, I had an opportunity to meet you on a personal basis. And we've been friends ever since 1981, when you first came to Charlottesville. Also, had an opportunity to work with you as a senior resident counselor from 19 98 till the summer of 2007, where you hired me to work as your senior resident. And I was very honored and very grateful because you allowed me to develop and grow as an individual. And also during that tenure, I was also enrolled in grad school. So you allowed me to take my classes in the morning. There was never an issue about me going to class, but you also made sure that I, kept up with my duties as a senior resident, and I am ever so grateful for that. You have served this community since 1981. You and I talk a lot about whether you're native or not a native, doesn't make any difference. You are a native of Charlottesville. You have been planted into this community for 42 years. And we're ever so grateful for your service, not only to the students in the Upward Bound program that I dearly love at the University of Virginia, but also our students and staff and teachers and administrators here in the Charlottesville Public Schools. You too are a first-class act. It's gonna be hard to follow in your footsteps because you have the knowledge, the grace, the dignity. You don't mind sharing and mentoring others when we have questions, those of us who are just starting out in this venue. When I was at the SBA conference in Williamsburg, the number of people who came up to you, the friendships that you had developed over the years as a school board member spoke for itself. So I'm ever so grateful that you are my friend, you are my hero, you are my mentor, and I am ever so blessed for your friendship. And I'm gonna leave this thought with the both of you. An old Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sunshine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
Thank you. Ms. Puryear, would you like to comment again?
So first of all, Juan, I have you to thank for this because this young man knocked at my door a few years ago and asked to speak to me and his fraternity brother, Dr. Puryear. He was immediately drawn to Juan because Juan graduated from Norfolk State University that gave him tenure, and it was Norfolk State College then. It didn't matter that you were alphas. You had the green and gold in common. I thought about it, and we made the decision to do that. A gentleman by the name of Bill Lucy mentored us through this process. I think Dr. Kraft may know him. And off we went. Our colors were green and white. I wore green and white tonight. Every time there is a season, and this is the season for Juan and I to leave the school board in good hands. Dr. Gurley, you will lead with grace and dignity. You will steer this ship in calm waters and turbulent waters, but you will do it with something that is extremely important. You will do it with impeccable care. And because you care, and because you come from a place of caring, all will be right with the world. I have no doubt. To each of you that have given words on my behalf this evening, I am just simply overwhelmed. I get up every day and do what I do because that's what I do. I don't ever expect for anyone to say thank you. I don't expect to be acknowledged. I just do what I do. Charlottesville is my home. No, I am not a native Charlottesvillian. But when I go away and people say, "Where are you going?" I say, "I'm going home." And they say, "Where's home?" Home is Charlottesville, Virginia. And thank you for allowing me to call Charlottesville home.
Thank you. Yes, LaShonda.
Just real quick, I wanted to add one more thing, and I would be remiss if I did not say it. For both Juan and Leah, I just wanted to say to you all that the world that we live in, the events that happen, that I just want to tip my hat to you and recognize that being Black people in public office and the challenges and the things that come along with that, that I recognize that. And I specifically want to say to Leah, as a Black woman in leadership, that I appreciate your guidance and you've helped me because I'm sure it was harder for you, but to walk in the room and be the only person that looks like you and to have to carry that off and to represent the interests of the people that you're representing is no easy task at any time. And I'm sure it was no easy task when you had to do it. So I do appreciate that. I tip my hat to you and I thank you for all the things you've done that are seen and unseen.
Thank you. So I need to make brief statements, right, Juan? Yeah, I mean, so much has been said, and thank you to everybody who worked on the video and the gifts and, you know, the resolutions. They're all wonderful and they mean a lot. And a lot of the words and everything that everybody has shared, whether it was, you know, via chat or Zoom or face to face, I mean, I agree with everything. And it's been an honor to work, you know, alongside of you both and this entire board. And yeah, there's so much you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know till you get to sit in one of these seats. And both of you and the rest of the board, but you know, Juan initially again reached out and actually, you know, spent a lot of time with me before I made the decision to run the first time and kind of making sure and that, you know, this is what it potentially would be like. And I still had no idea what it was going to be like. But you've always been there, Juan, and I do first as a friend and a parent, you know, of our daughters growing up and at the same time and same age and classes. So I value your friendship from when our daughters met and the time that we spent together then. I value your time when I reached out to you and had questions as a parent and trying to understand and navigate, you know, a new school division and trying to understand things, and you showing up then as a school board member and doing what you do best, listening. It's a skill that I continue to try to learn. I get very excited and passionate about things, but I think that one of the biggest gifts you've given me is to allow me to watch you listen and how you process things and your response. And the same with you, Leah, just so much and always being there and being supportive to me and to other board members. And the gift of being a mentor, you have a gentle way about you, again, of kind of allowing, you have allowed me, and I'll speak about me, to kind of navigate, make some decisions and you know, if needed, you just have a very subtle way of just interjecting and not even correcting, but just providing support and guidance based on your years and years of knowledge. There's so many things that, you know, we could all go on and on about, but again, in so many ways, and I am not a native either. I've only been here 22 years, but my daughter was born here, so she's a native, and I get to count that, I think. but in so many ways, Charlottesville, I feel like whether it be work or other activities that I've participated in, groups or clubs or training in a Taekwondo school, I feel like I have different families. And school board and the school division has become a family. And we all have differences, and we all have different strengths and passions. And a lot of times we don't necessarily agree on some things, but we are all very supportive. And ultimately, we and you both have always shown up and are doing what's best for the kids. And that's what this is all about. And so I have learned so much from both of you in my 4 years on here, and I am forever grateful. And I will miss you both as well. So thank you both for everything. So that's that. I did want to make just a couple of quick announcements, if I may, that a reminder that we do have a response to essential needs event happening this weekend. And that's here at Charlottesville High School from 11 to 1. And there's also a vaccination, I think that was said, but a vaccination clinic happening at the same time. So please do bring your kids, spread the word. Also, there's another vaccination clinic on December 14th here at the high school. So another opportunity to bring your kids. Along the lines of COVID and what we can do and continue to do. Again, as other people have said, vaccinations, boosters, but also, we need to not forget the basics of where we started before we had vaccinations: washing hands, wearing masks, social distancing. I hesitate. I'm a little nervous. I think as Ms. McKeever said about, what we saw, this little uptick in numbers, and this is on the, the tail end of Thanksgiving, and we've got more holidays coming and time planned. And we all have craved and missed our families and socializing with other people. And I really want to encourage people to not get lax just because we have vaccinations and boosters. I mean, that definitely helps decrease symptoms, decrease the risks of hospitalizations, but it is not 100% protection. And so we need to, again, remember that we need to take care of each other and keep those other practices in place for everybody. As far as special ed, I do want to, I meant to mention that we do have a special ed advisory committee that meets, and there are meetings scheduled, and those are on the website, but we do have one on January 19th and then March 16th and May 4th. So that's an excellent way to get involved and share, ask questions or share concerns, and just be an advocate for all of our kids and our kids with disabilities. And I think that's the end of my comments, and we will now move to superintendent comments. Dr. Gurley.
All right, so before I give my comments, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Just reminders, Ms. Torres just mentioned our response to essential needs. That's this Saturday. On December the 9th, we do have our CHS holiday choir concert. I will be there, so I hope to see some of you all there as well. And then our winter break, our winter break is December the 20th through January the 3rd. And so those are our upcoming things. And today is National Special Education Day. And so do want to thank all of our special educators for all they do for our exceptional learners. And my comments are probably going to be a little bit more brief than everyone else, because I have known Ms. Puryear and Mr. Wade the least amount of time. I did get to spend, I guess, about 4 visits or so with them before starting the job and through the interview process. And so I'm just thankful for your presence and the work that you've done. And I think that the work that you've done has spoken for itself with everything that's been said. I think the thing that really stuck out to me the most, and this, it's the last 2 lines from one of my favorite poems entitled "Don't Quit." And so the last 2 lines read, stick to the fight when your heart is hit. And it's when things seems the worst that you don't quit. And I think that that's what I heard today, is that, you all have done the heavy lifting. You've definitely trailblazed and you've laid a foundation for many other people to come. I am eagerly awaiting to work with Mr. Morris and to work with Emily. And so I think that, this is just going to be exciting times. And I think that, while it is big shoes to fill, I think that they've written a how-to manual. And they've just showed us how to lead with grace and to lead with love. And they definitely have embodied a culture of care before it was a hashtag. And so I thank you all. And so that's it from me.
Thank you, sir. And now we have our work session wrap up. Nothing? So we will send questions to you around the EAP, and if you could bring those back to us, whether you want to write, I don't know, it might be worthwhile to bring that just in a short public meeting so that the public can hear responses to those, please. All right, thank you. And then upcoming meetings, we have a budget work session coming up on the 15th. And then we have our next meeting, January 6th or 7th. I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me. First Thursday of January. And I think that's it. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.